Chapter 58:37. It seemed that it had been deceived again after listening to the 1,000-year-old corpse turtle Emperor Bug's words. Hey Shinjo said with a righteous look, little grasshopper, don't worry. I'm the most protective person. Since you're my bug, I'll protect you even if I have to risk my life. When the heavenly lightning strikes later, you can take the others and leave. Leave everything to me. The 1,000-year-old corpse turtle Emperor Bug couldn't believe its ears. The little pervert was actually so good to it. He actually risked his life to save it, knew its own limits. Its status definitely couldn't compare to the spiritual pets that this little pervert had previously taken in. Moreover, because of it, the little pervert had been infected with corpse chi. It would be good enough if it didn't kill it. Who would have thought that during a time of danger, she would actually say such heartfelt words? It really touched it. Master, Woo-Woo, you are really too good to me. If I am lucky enough to not die this time, I will definitely repay you well in the future, the 1,000-year corpse turtle Emperor Insect said emotionally. Yun Shujio said indifferently, you are my insect, I will naturally protect you. Hearing this, the 1,000-year corpse turtle Emperor Insect felt that it had acknowledged a good master that was hard to find in the world. Now, even if Hei Shinjo wanted it to die, it was also willing. The other dumb cubs in the spirit beast bag were extremely sympathetic to a certain stupid grasshopper. If one day it found out the truth, would it cry out? At this time, Lecturer Yao walked forward with a worried expression and said, Vice-Chancellor Shao, there will be heavenly lightning descending on this 100 Pits mountain range very soon. Let's quickly find a safe place to hide. The 1,000-year-old corpse turtle Emperor Bug nodded in agreement. It could not wait to hide. This was heavenly lightning, how frightening it was. However, what everyone didn't expect was that Wu Yun would follow them no matter which direction they hid in. It was as if he wouldn't stop until they were killed. The 1,000-year-old corpse turtle Emperor Bug was about to cry. It was over, it was over. Tian Dao was determined to kill it. At this moment, Hei Xinjia's voice was transmitted from its spiritual perception. I've contaminated your corpse chi. I can use some other methods to lure Wu Yun away. After I go missing, don't let Nangong Shi and Jiang Shuangli look for me. The 1,000-year-old corpse turtle Emperor Insect was extremely touched. It must have saved the divine enlightenment continent in its previous life. Otherwise, how could it have met such a good master? Master, every insect has its own way of doing things. The heavenly lightning. Let me distract Wu Yun. The 1,000-year-old corpse turtle Emperor Insect said tragically. The insect would die for its best friend. Since the little pervert was so good to it, how could it just watch her die for it? Seeing it like this, Hei Shinjo felt a rare pain in her conscience, so she comforted it, don't worry. I have the heavenly lightning spiritual root, so I can withstand more lightning strikes than you. Moreover, don't I still have an old devil? If it really can't, then bring him out and take the lightning strikes for me. The 1,000-year-old corpse turtle Emperor saw that Yun Shujia's attitude was firm, and what she said made sense, so it could only agree. At this time, the dark clouds were pressing down, and the sky was completely dark. Hei Shinjo took advantage of the fact that everyone's attention was on the dark clouds, and slithered into the bushes next to Wu Yun. Then, she trotted away from everyone. Almost at the moment that she left, the dark clouds in the sky also moved. The 1,000-year-old corpse turtle Emperor Bug's eyes turned red when it saw Wu Yun leaving. It swore with its life that from now on, it would be the little pervert's bug. It would never abandon it. The 1,000-year-old corpse turtle Emperor Bug had just finished swearing when it suddenly thought of a question. The heavenly lightning spirit root seemed to be forbidden by the Tian Dao. So the question was the heavenly lightning here to strike it or the little pervert? It seemed to have been deceived again. Chapter 58:38. No less the more the 1,000-year-old corpse turtle Emperor Insect thought about it, the more it felt that its guess was right. It was angry and helpless. This little pervert was simply the essence of acting, making it impossible for the insect to guard against him. When it thought about the poison vow that it had just made, it wished that it could give it a slap. It was simply too stupid. However, what it had just made was the death vow of the insect race. It could not cancel it at all. Woo, it wanted to die. On the other side, Hei Xinjiu jogged all the way, and when she saw Wu Yun chasing after her, she was practically bursting with joy. Although the lightning strike stone could also be used for cultivation, how could it be as powerful as the heavenly lightning? This heavenly lightning came at just the right time. To be on the safe side, this fellow ran all the way without stopping, running for more than 100 li in one breath before stopping. She raised her head and looked at Wu Yun, who followed closely behind. Wasn't this the piece of cloud that struck her in the lower house last time? Was he here to take revenge? Hey, silly Yun in the sky, are you here to take revenge on me? Come and strike me. Hei Xinjiu said provocatively, looking as if she was asking for a beating. Wu Yun in the sky was quite angry. He immediately sent a bolt of lightning to strike Hei Xinjiu. Hei Xinjiu was struck by the lightning, and she said with satisfaction, "It feels good. It feels good. It feels really good. Little silly Yun, come, strike miss a few more times." The dark clouds in the sky were almost fuming with anger. How could such a freak appear in the divine enlightenment continent? It would definitely strike her to death today. Boom! 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 Several bolts of lightning struck Hei Xinjiu again. Hei Xinjiu thought that it was better to have fun alone than to have fun together, so she took out Xiao Mogu, Xiao Hanio, and the phoenix egg that had been difficult to give birth to for several years to be struck. This fellow thought for a moment and also released its red claws. The whole family had to be together in an orderly fashion, not a single one missing. The other cute pets in the spirit beast bag. Are they ghosts? Xiao Hanio's ability to attract aggro was not inferior to Hei Xinjiu's. One of its short wings was placed on its waist, while the other pointed at the sky and said, "Hey, little fool in the sky, what are you standing there for? Go ahead and strike. Could it be that you've been charmed by my beauty? I advise you to give up on this idea. I've long had my heart set on someone else, and I don't fancy ugly clouds like you." Wu Yun in the sky was obviously very angry. Xiao Hanio burped and said lazily, "This little bit of lightning is not enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. Come again if you have the ability." Wu Yun in the sky was so angry that he kept shaking. Xiao Hanio received a few lightning strikes as he wished. He was very happy in his heart. TSK, he was not an idiot like Buttface. What was the point of flattering him for no reason? It was only true to improve his cultivation. The strong were respected. As long as he cultivated well, the position of the number one spirit pet would always be his. After 15 minutes, Xiao Hanio and the other two were full. Hei Xinjiu put them away and continued to provoke Wu Yun. Bolts of lightning struck Hei Xinjiu's body one after another. Although the lightning strikes were quite accurate, it was inevitable that they would miss. Soon, a deep pit appeared where Hei Xinjiu was. As time passed, the surroundings of the deep pit began to collapse, and the area grew larger and larger. Hei Xinjiu, who was almost buried alive, finally managed to escape with little Wu Yun. Looking at the deep pit that continued to collapse under her feet, a strange thought rose in her mind. Oh my, could it be that this 100-pit mountain range was a sin that she had committed in her previous life? Also, could it be that she was also the one who had done those holes in the lightning strike canyon? Chapter 58:39, Wicked Hei Xinjiu touched her nose guiltily. She was really lively in her previous life. She had snatched the bell and the little wooden fish from the bitter Zen sect and turned Han Dun into a bald lady. It seemed that De Hua had become a bachelor because of her sins. Now, even the Baiking mountain range had something to do with her. Cough, she must have thought too much. It must have nothing to do with her. After all, she had always been very quiet. Wu Yun in the sky was even more confused than she was. Because it saw the little Wu Yun that Hei Xinjiu was sitting on. How was this possible? How could humans contract their noble Wu Yun? It must be an illusion. Yes, it was an illusion. However, it looked and looked again. The one flying in the pit was clearly a little Wu Yun. Although the cloud wings were still young and the cultivation level was still shallow, it was indeed a little Wu Yun. Wu Yun immediately began to plan. If it swallowed the small dark cloud, wouldn't it be a waste to pick up a few cloud wings? The more Wu Yun thought about it, the more excited he became. While he continued to strike He Xinjiu with the heavenly lightning, he sneakily began to approach the small dark cloud. As the distance between them got closer and closer, Wu Yun became more and more excited. As long as he got closer, he could wrap the small dark cloud into the sky and forcefully swallow it. Just as it was getting excited, it suddenly saw Yun Chujiu take out a strange-looking object and shoot some red liquid at it. Wu Yun did not care at all. What was it? It was Wu Yun. Anything poisonous would be useless against it. This stupid girl was really naive. At this moment, the red liquid shot onto one of Wu Yun's wings. Wu Yun, who was feeling proud, was dumbfounded. That was because it realized that it had lost control of the wings. The wings flew towards Wu Yun happily, and it was instantly fused with Wu Yun. Wu Yun, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Just as it was stunned, it realized that Yun Chujiu was going to spray the liquid on it again. It immediately flew back into the sky. It was too terrifying. Too terrifying. What on earth was this stinky girl shooting at? It actually made its cloud wings betray it? Yun Chujiu sighed regretfully. She was so close to getting another cloud wing. After Wu Yun's panic, it was filled with endless anger. It had to kill this stinky girl today. As long as she died, its cloud wings would come back. Thus, continuous heavenly lightning struck down at He Xinjiu. At first, He Xinjiu was able to withstand it. Later, when she saw that the heavenly lightning was getting stronger and stronger, she released Goei Batsao to help her resist it. When her spiritual power was Om. She did not open the spiritual connection with Sha Mo previously, so Sha Mo had no idea what was happening outside. He was released out of the blue and thought that Yun Chujiu wanted to discuss with him about finding the demon emperor. Who would have thought that as soon as he was released, he would be struck by a few heavenly lightning bolts? Sha Mo almost fainted from anger. He had seen wicked people before, but this was the first time he had seen such wicked people. Fortunately, He Xinjiu still had a use for him. After letting him help withstand a few heavenly lightning bolts, she put him back into the spirit beast pouch. Wu Yun in the sky was obviously not well prepared this time. After He Xinjiu's torment, its lightning power was almost used up. One could imagine the depression in its heart. Not only did it fail to take revenge, but it also lost a cloud wing. It had to hold its breath as much as possible. It was furious in its heart. Damned girl, just you wait. Well, see. Wu Yun trembled violently a few times and flew away in a fluster. Chapter 5840. I had another epiphany. Lecturer Yao and the others watched as the Wu Yun finally drifted away. Only then did their hearts, which had been hanging in the air, finally come to a realization. It was too terrifying. Fortunately, there was still some distance between them and the Wu Yun. Otherwise, none of them would have survived. The 1,000-year-old corpse turtle emperor bug felt both happy and shocked, and it realized that Yun Chujiu was fine. Although it was beyond a certain distance and its master and spiritual pet could no longer communicate with each other, it could still feel the connection of spiritual sense. Oh my God, what kind of monster is this? How could such a powerful heavenly lightning not kill her? How did she do it? However, it was also true. A monster that could contract with such a great king of the insect clan was naturally not ordinary. In this case, it was not a disgrace for the insect clan to be deceived so many times. Just when the 1,000-year corpse turtle emperor insect was comforting itself, Nangongshi said loudly, "Director Xiaofu, now that the heavenly lightning has stopped, it's time for us to find Yan Qingqing, right?" Previously, when Nangongshi realized that Yan Qingqing was missing, He immediately wanted to look for her, but was stopped by the 1,000-year-old corpse turtle emperor bug. The 1,000-year-old corpse turtle emperor bug nodded. Of course. Let's look for Yan Qingqing together. Xiao Lianxiao curled her lips at the side. Who allowed her to act on her own accord? She deserved to be struck by lightning. Does she really think she's that great? She's just a trash at the 7th level of the divine enlightenment realm, yet she still recklessly walks around. She's really courting death. Nangong Shi glared fiercely at Xiao Lianxiao, but in his heart, he also blamed He Xinjiu. In such a dangerous situation, why are you walking around? Can't you stop for a while? If something really happened to her, how would he explain it to Ding Wenru when he went back? Nangong Shi was stunned when he thought of this. Why did he have to explain it to Ding Wenru? Well, everyone was familiar with each other, so they naturally had to explain. Well, that was it. Everyone searched and searched until they finally heard a cry for help near a sinkhole. Help! Help! Someone save this peerless beauty. Everyone. Why did he suddenly not want to save her? Nangong Shi and Zhang Shuangli were very happy. It was great that Yan Qingqing was not dead. Lecturer Yao lowered the rope. 15 minutes later, He Xinjiu climbed up. Everyone looked at He Xinjiu, who was shining above their heads, with their mouths agape. He Xinjiu did not mind. She took out a handkerchief and tied. Lecturer Yao reprimanded, Yan Qingqing, why did you leave the team without permission? How did you come to the bottom of this sinkhole? Yun Shujiu said with some excitement and some lingering fear, Lecturer Yao, when I was retreating earlier, I suddenly had an epiphany. Due to the sudden turn of events, I didn't have time to greet all of you. By the time I successfully had an epiphany, I would have turned into this wretched state. Epiphany? Only then did everyone realize that Yun Shujia's cultivation had actually soared from the 7th layer of the divine revelation to the 1st layer of the divine summoning. It seemed like she really had an epiphany. After all, if it wasn't for the epiphany, it was impossible for her to break through so many layers of cultivation. It was really fucking unreasonable. Didn't this Yan Qingqing just have an epiphany? Why did she have an epiphany again? Xiao Lianxiao was both jealous and resentful. She questioned, that's not right. Even if you had an epiphany, you shouldn't have appeared outside by Li. You must be lying. He Xinjiu cursed silently in her heart. How did this idiot suddenly become smart? Fortunately, she was already prepared. She said somewhat confusedly, I don't know about this. As everyone knows, when I had an epiphany, I knew nothing about the outside world. I had an epiphany in a bush. Who knows how I fell into this pit? At this moment, a lecturer pointed at the edge of the sinkhole and said, everyone, look at this fault. It's all new soil. The edge of the pit is the same. Therefore, this sinkhole should have been formed from a new collapse. Previously, because the sound of thunder was too loud, we didn't hear the sound of a collapse. Presumably, the place where Yan Qingqing was originally collapsed, so it fell into this sinkhole. Chapter 58-41, Blowing up a wall, beating someone up. When everyone saw that it was true, they immediately felt that what the lecturer said was very reasonable. However, this Yan Qingqing was really lucky. She fell into a pit and was struck by lightning, but she was actually completely fine. It couldn't be said that she was fine. After all, her hair had been chopped off. Alright, this matter ends here. Let's leave this place as soon as possible to avoid any unnecessary complications, said the 1,000-year-old corpse turtle emperor insect with a cold face. Xiao Lianxiao could only keep quiet when she heard it. She was secretly resentful. Why didn't the heavenly lightning strike this Yan Qingqing to death? What a pity. Everyone immediately returned. After leaving the Baihang mountain range, Yun Shujiu received a voice transmission talisman from Di Baiming. He said that the academy had arranged for him and a few other people to go out for training and they would be back in a few days. Yun Shujiu did not mind. The two of them had gathered less and separated more. They were already used to this kind of day. She sent her spiritual sense into another voice transmission talisman. It was from Ding Wenru. Ding Wenru's angry and anxious voice came from the talisman. Qingsheng, the talisman division is going too far. They took over a part of our courtyard and said that we only have 2 people. We don't need such a big courtyard at all. Yun Shujiu immediately narrowed her eyes and asked, Sister Ding, I just received your message. What's the situation now? After a while, she received Ding Wenru's message. Well, talk about it when you come back. It won't be clear in a few sentences. Yun Shujiu had obtained some information from this short sentence. It seemed that things were worse than she had imagined. She would talk about it when she went back. On this day, everyone finally arrived at the dock of the upper house. As soon as Yun Shujiu entered the upper house, she felt some people pointing at her. She seemed to be gloating over her misfortune. Yun Shujiu ignored them and went straight back to the prehistoric branch. As soon as she pushed open the door, her expression turned ugly. Although the original prehistoric branch could not be compared to the other branches, it was still very spacious. Now, there was only a narrow strip left, and the new stone wall of the talisman seal branch on the right was particularly dazzling. Moreover, the original stone tables and stone stools in the courtyard had also disappeared. Some of the flowers and plants that she had planted had also turned into withered leaves and branches. Sister Ding, PM back. Yun Shujiu shouted a few times before Ding Wenru limped out of the house. Yun Shujiu saw that Ding Wenru's face had not fully recovered from the injury and that she was limping as she walked. Her face immediately darkened. Who hit you? Ding Wenru refused to say at first, but in the end, Yun Shujiu asked anxiously, Who hit you? The talisman seal faculty sent some odd job workers to build the wall, so I naturally wanted to argue with them. But I was beaten up by some students of the talisman seal faculty, and the things in the yard were also smashed by them. The academy didn't show up. They just let you get beaten up for nothing? Yun Shujiu's voice didn't have any fluctuations, but it was frighteningly cold. Ding Wenru sighed, because the talisman seal faculty was involved in more people, the law didn't punish the masses. They just let them apologize to me and compensate me with some spirit stones. Although I was unwilling, I was alone and could only swallow this cowardice. Qingsheng, forget it. There are only 2 people from our primal faculty. We won't be able to win against them. Moreover, my injuries have recovered. It's not a big deal. Forget it. My people are also people that they can touch. Who hit you? Can you still remember? Ding Wenru asked somewhat apprehensively. I can remember. But, Qingsheng, what are you going to do? Yun Shujiu said coldly, blow up the wall and beat people up. Chapter 58-42, What do you need money for? Ding Wenru was shocked. Blow up the wall? Beat people up? Qingsheng, don't be impulsive. There are only the 2 of us in the primal institution. If we really fight, we will only be at a disadvantage. Moreover, if you blow up the wall of the talisman institution, how could they let it go? Yun Shujiu said coldly, then you will be bullied by them for nothing? You will be beaten up for nothing? Didn't they apologize and compensate you? Ding Wenru said weakly. She was naturally unwilling to accept it, but she couldn't do something like hitting a rock with an egg. Yun Shujiu snorted coldly. Apologize? It must be very perfunctory, right? As for the compensation, with me supporting you, what do you need money for? If apologizing and compensating can solve the problem, then I'll beat them up and apologize and compensate them as well. My money is enough to beat them up tens of thousands of times. Ding Wenru. Alright, she was indeed raised by Qingsheng. Whether it was the donation fee or the money to buy the flag, she probably wouldn't be able to pay them back in her lifetime. Ding Wenru saw that Yun Shujiu was determined to go head-to-head with Yun Shujiu, and her heart surged with thousands of heroic feelings. At worst, she would just be expelled from school. What else could she do? Moreover, she also knew that Yun Shujiu was doing it to vent her anger. If she still objected, then she would be too ungrateful. Alright, Qingqing, I'll listen to you. Should we blow up the wall first or beat people up first? Yun Shujiu narrowed her eyes. If we blow up the wall, there will naturally be people who will be sent to get beaten up. Ding Wenru rubbed her hands. Qingqing, about that, I think we should tear down the wall. Because we didn't explode the jade talisman seal. Yun Shujiu laughed lightly and took out a blank jade token from her storage ring. She picked up the carving knife that was used to carve jade talisman seals and said indifferently, "It doesn't matter, just carve a few. It's just the lowest level explosive jade talisman seal anyway." Ding Wenru was dumbfounded. She felt that Yun Shujiu was most likely crazy. Qingqing, are you too tired, so you're not clear-headed? I don't even know how to carve a complete explosive jade talisman seal. Can you finish it? It's not that I'm arrogant, but at least I can understand most of it. But you can't understand it at all. How did you? Ding Wenru's words came to an abrupt end because she saw Yun Shujiu's wrist flip and fly. Streaks of evenly distributed spiritual power patterns appeared on the jade token. Ding Wenru thug. Chapter 58-43 Exploding Wall. Ding Wenru felt that her brain was a little lacking. Was what Instructor Sima said a lie, or was Qingqing too perverted? Perhaps, this was also a coincidence. Very quickly, she dispelled this thought because Yun Shujiu handed her another 10 exploding jade talisman seals that were also supreme grade. It should be enough. Let's carve these first. Yun Shujiu said as she kept the carving knife. Qingqing, when did you learn how to carve jade talismans? Why haven't I seen you practice before? Ding Wenru asked in surprise. It's just the lowest grade explosive jade talisman seal. Is there still a need to practice with this thing? Can't you just carve it a few times? Yun Shujiu said indifferently. Ding Wenru. At this moment, she felt the explosive blow from Brainiac. Why did she feel that the thing that was as difficult as ascending to the heavens was not worth mentioning in this pervert's mouth? At this moment, she realized that she could no longer see through Yun Shujiu's cultivation. That was not right. Previously, Qingqing was at the 7th level of the Divine Revelation realm, 1 level lower than her. Why couldn't she see through her cultivation after not seeing her for a few days? Qingqing, you broke through again? What cultivation level are you at now? I accidentally had an epiphany in the 100 Pit Mountain range and did not break through much. Now, PM only at the 1st level of the Divine Summoning realm. I'm still too weak, Yun Shujiu said as she curled her lips. Ding Wenru took another 10,000 critical hits. They were both the only 2 students of the prehistoric branch. Why was she so outstanding? While she was lamenting, Yun Shujiu had already taken a super-grade explosive jade talisman from her hand. After activating it, she threw it at the stone wall of the talisman division. Boom! After a loud sound, the stone wall had been completely turned into powder. As it was the inner wall of the academy, the materials used were very ordinary, so it was so easily blown up by He Xinjiu. Such a big commotion naturally attracted the attention of everyone. Soon, a group of students from the Talisman Script Department ran over. When they saw the mess on the ground and Yun Shujiu, they immediately understood what was going on. Yan Qingqing, Ding Wenru, the 2 of you actually dared to blow up the walls of our Talisman Seal faculty. Are you tired of living? A student from the Talisman Seal faculty said angrily. Qingqing, this person is called Jian Shenmu. He was the one who fanned the flames last time. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been beaten up. Ding Wenru said hatefully to Yun Shujiu. Yun Shujiu narrowed her eyes and looked at Jian Shenmu. This is the territory of our prehistoric faculty. What does it have to do with you if I tear down my own walls? If you have nothing better to do, then go out and run a few laps. Don't bark here. Jian Shenmu sneered. Yan Qingqing, you really have a big face. The wall of your primal division? What a joke. Your primal division only has you two useless students. How can you occupy such a large courtyard? If we hadn't been kind enough to leave a room for you, you would have become homeless dogs. They actually dared to blow up the strength of our talisman seal division. They're really tired of living. The people behind Jian Chenmu also jeered, that's right. They think they're so great just because they've clung onto Bai Yes thigh. They're really overestimating themselves. That's right. If it were up to me, there's no need for this primal division to exist. These two good-for-nothings shouldn't stay in the upper academy either. Looks like we were too lenient last time. This Ding Wenru has no memory at all. She really deserves a beating. Chapter 58-44, Beating People Up. Ding Wenru heard the discussions of those people and was so angry that her face turned ashen. Qingqing, these people were all involved in what happened before. None of them are good. Yun Shujiu did not say anything. She merely curled the corners of her lips and took out a few exploding jade talismans and threw them into the crowd opposite her. Boom! Boom! My face. My leg, my leg. It hurts so much. Help. The sound of the explosion was mixed with a scream, which made people's hair stand on end. Those students never dreamed that Yun Shujiu would suddenly throw out so many jade talismans. Caught off guard, they were seriously injured. Ding Wenru was scared silly. What happened to beating people up? How did this turn into an explosion? Qingqing was too ruthless. If she really blew people up, what would happen? She looked at them in fear and only then did she relax. Although those people were severely injured and were lying on the ground wailing, they didn't seem to be in danger. However, it was also true. The explosive Jade Talisman Seal was the lowest grade Jade Talisman Seal. Even the power of a transcendent grade Talisman Seal was limited. If it wasn't for the fact that these people were completely unprepared, they probably wouldn't have been able to injure them, much less seriously injure them. Just as Ding Wenru was thinking about it, Yun Shujiu coldly said, "What are you standing there for? Aren't you going to take revenge? Return 10 kicks to the person who kicked you, and 100 punches to the person who punched you. Let them know that we, the people from the primeval institution, are not easy to bully." Ding Wenru naturally would not be polite. After all, the matter had already come to this point. If she still endured it, then she would be a bastard. She immediately walked up to Jian Chenmu and raised her fist. Jian Chenmu gritted his teeth and roared, "Ding Wenru, if you dare to make a move again, I swear I won't forgive you. I want you to get out of the 10 Directions Academy." Ding Wenru snorted coldly and punched his face, instantly turning his face into a pig's head. Then, with 2 cracking sounds, she broke his ankles. Jian Chenmu was in so much pain that it was like killing a pig. Ding Wenru, Yan Qingqing, I won't let you off." His words came to an abrupt stop because Yun Shujiu said faintly from the side, "Sister Ding, he's really too noisy. Why don't we cut off his tongue?" Jian Chenmu was filled with hatred and fear. If his ankle was broken, he could still reattach it. But if his tongue was cut off, then he would really become a mute. Seeing that Jian Chenmu had suffered a loss, the others did not dare to talk nonsense. Some tactful people began to admit defeat. "Student Yen, Student Ding, this is all a misunderstanding. We made a big mistake because we were deceived by Jian Chenmu. Yes, we are all classmates in the academy. It's better if we don't make a big deal out of it. It's just a wall. Since you've already blown it up, let us go." "Yes, Ding, I didn't do anything last time. I was just watching the show." In fact, these students from the Talisman Division also had a lot of jade talismans, but they had some misgivings. Although they didn't receive any punishment for beating Ding Wenru last time, if they used talismans in a fight, that would be against the rules of the academy. It was not easy for them to get into the upper house. If they were expelled because of this, wouldn't they regret it for the rest of their lives? They secretly calculated in their hearts that a wise man would not be at a disadvantage in front of his eyes. They would first admit defeat and get past this hurdle, and then complain about it. Ding Wenru and Yan Qingcheng, these two bitches, would definitely be expelled. When that time came, they could do whatever they wanted to them. When that time came, they would definitely make their lives worse than death. Yun Shujiu was very shrewd. How could she not know what these people were thinking? If they wanted to sue someone, who could beat her? Chapter 58:45, A Tooth for a Tooth. Hearing the words of the students, Yun Shujiu curled her lips. I always seek revenge for the smallest grievance. You have touched my things and my people, so you should be prepared for revenge. As for any apology or compensation, I don't care. I just want a tooth for a tooth and a violent one for a violent one. Hearing this, Ding Wenru became even more enthusiastic. She kicked and clapped, and then she took out a stick and gave a fierce beating. In order to be a good student, troublemaker, Yun Shujiu had already understood the rules of the Academy of 10 Directions clearly. If there was a fight between the students of the upper academy, they would not be severely punished without the use of spiritual beasts and jade talisman seals. If they used spiritual beasts and jade talisman seals, they might be expelled if the consequences were serious. Therefore, she was sure that Jian Shenmu and the others would not dare to use the spirit beast and jade talisman. That was why they were so arrogant. Those people were crying like ghosts and howling like wolves. They were so angry that they gritted their teeth and cursed in their hearts. Why did no one come to help when such a big thing had happened here? Were the other people in the talisman division all dead? Needless to say, they did not know whether it was because their resentment was too strong or because the explosion just now was too loud. A large group of people ran over. Stop! A clear female voice came from afar. Yun Shujiu looked up and saw a woman in a white dress at the front of the crowd. The woman was beautiful. Although her footsteps were very fast, it did not affect her graceful posture at all. The woman soon arrived in front of Yun Shujiu. She glanced at the messy crowd on the ground and slightly frowned. She signaled the people behind her to help Jian Shenmu and the others up. Jian Shenmu shouted, Zhuyu, you came at the right time. Not only did these two bastards blow up the wall, but they also used jade talisman seals to blow us up. They are really audacious. Zhuyu? Yun Shujiu's heart moved. Could she be the Jian Zhuyu that little grasshopper was talking about? Was she also one of the admirers of the gigolo? Although the woman frowned, she still nodded slightly to Yun Shujiu and Ding Wenru. Are you Yan Qingcheng and Ding Wenru from the primeval institution? Ding Wenru had always followed He Xinjia's lead, so she did not say anything. Yun Shujiu said indifferently, that's right. May I know your name? Immediately, a student from the Talisman Seal Institution shouted, TSK, don't tell me you don't even know Jian Zhuyu? Flying Snow Lian Xiao, Flowing Cloud Zhuyu, she is one of the 4 fairies. Not only is Jian Zhuyu beautiful and has a good family background, she is also one of the most outstanding students in our Talisman Seal Institution. Most importantly, she has a gentle personality and is very approachable. Compared to Jian Zhuyu, this Yan Qingcheng is like a dog's tail grass by the roadside and a beautiful peony. The difference is like the difference between the clouds and the mud. I wonder why Beiyu has taken a fancy to this Yan Jian Zhuyu's expression did not change when she heard the discussion of the crowd. Instead, she said gently and politely, I am Jian Zhuyu from the Talisman Seal College. I have left the academy for a period of time. It is normal that you do not know me. Yun Shujiu raised her chin. Even if you're in the academy, it's normal that I don't know you. After all, PM not someone that everyone has to know. You. Jian Ziyu's expression immediately turned ugly. This Yan Qingcheng was really hateful. She actually compared her to a cat or a dog. However, she still suppressed the anger in her heart and said, it doesn't matter if you know me or not. But why did you blow up the wall of our Talisman Seal division? And why did you beat up Jian Shenmu and the others? Chapter 58:46. Hearing Jian Ziyu's words, Yun Shujiu sneered, the wall of your Talisman Script Academy? It's so funny these days. The dove who occupies the magpie's nest still has the face to turn black into white. Your Talisman Script Academy shamelessly occupies many of our Primal Academy's courtyards. I didn't intend to argue with you. I didn't expect that the human heart is insatiable and the snake will swallow the elephant. They even want to occupy the last bit of our territory. It really refreshed my understanding of the word shameless. As for why they were beaten up, the reason was very simple. They deserved a beating. If they were not in the 10 Directions Academy, I would have sent them on their way long ago. Whether it was Jian Zhuyu or the others, they were all stunned. They had never thought that Yan Qingqing would be so arrogant. Was she ignorant and fearless? Jian Ziyu's expression was slightly cold. Yan Qingqing, you can't speak nonsense. When did our Talisman Seal branch take over the place of your prehistoric branch? Your prehistoric branch is only so big in the first place. As for the wall that was built a few days ago, it was also approved by the Academy. It was to use the Academy's resources more rationally so as not to waste it. How about this? Since you're a new student, you apologize to Jian Shenmu and the others and pay for the wall to be rebuilt. It'll convince Jian Shenmu and the others not to report this matter to the Academy. When the people behind her heard Jian Ziyu's words, they all showed a look of approval. Look at Jian Zhuyu. This is the demeanor of everyone. It's really admirable. That's right. Jian Ziyu's words are reasonable. It's not like that Yan Qingcheng's nonsense. Our Talisman Seal faculty has occupied the territory of their primeval subfaculty. We're really not afraid of the wind blowing our tongues. Who doesn't know that the primeval subfaculty hasn't recruited people for 800 years? What territory does it still have? If Yan Qingqing knows what's good for her, then quickly get off the donkey. Otherwise, she'll be expelled. At this moment, Yun Shujiu smiled lightly. They deserve to be beaten up. Why should I apologize? Should I rebuild the wall? Of course, the wall should be built, but not here. It should be built on the east side of your Talisman Seal Division's teaching hall, because from there to here, it's the territory of our Primal Division. Your Talisman Seal Division has occupied the magpie's nest for so many years. It's time to return it. When everyone heard her words, they immediately started cursing again. It was nothing more than saying that Yun Shujiu was spouting nonsense and did not know what was good for her. Jian Zhuyu sighed. Yan Qingqing, since you insist on. I can only report this matter to the higher-ups. Yun Shujiu glanced at her. Jian Zhuyu, let me give you a suggestion. Since you have created a gentle and magnanimous persona for yourself, then you should act completely. Otherwise, it would be too unprofessional. You instigated Jian Shenmu to come over to provoke me, and then you came over to be a good person. Don't you think it's a little unsightly to eat? Don't you just want to create an incident and use it as an opportunity to deal with me? Then you'll find a reason to get the Academy to expel me, and then send people to kill me, right? In this regard, you're inferior to that Xiao Lianxiao. At least she's brazenly evil, unlike you, who became a female cousin and still set up a memorial archway. Jian Ziyu's face immediately flushed red, and her voice trembled a little. Yan Qingqing, you're really going too far. I don't understand what you're saying, but you demolished the wall first, and hit people later. I'll see you in the discipline department. The corners of Yun Shujiu's mouth curled up. Whatever. Chapter 58-47. This wall had also exploded. Yun Shujiu looked at Jian Ziyu's furious back and shrugged. She was the nemesis of the White Lotus. To play such a small trick in front of her was simply hilarious. Ding Wenru was dumbstruck. After a long while, she said, Qingqing, you said that Jian Zhuyu was the one who made all this up to deal with you? Most likely. This kind of White Lotus likes this kind of trick the most. There's nothing new about it, and she still has the nerve to come out and embarrass herself. However, it's also good that she made this up. Let's also take back the territory and things of the Primal Institution. Some people are really asking to be beaten up for taking other people's things and showing off in front of the original owner. Ding Wenru said weakly, can we really get it back? I think we should think of a way to deal with the current crisis first, right? Jian Zhuyu and the others have already gone to complain. The discipline department will probably come and arrest us soon. Yun Shujiu waved her hand. There's no rush. Let me blow up the wall of the alchemy division first. Ding Wenru was about to cry. It was already difficult enough to offend the Talisman Seal division, but she actually had to offend the alchemy division? In the future, would there still be room for the two of them in the 10 Directions Academy? Yun Shujiu did as she said. With a super-grade explosive jade talisman seal, the wall of the alchemy division also turned into powder. This time, the alchemy division that was originally watching the show could not do it anymore. However, due to He Xingjia's valiance, they did not directly come over to negotiate. Instead, they went to the discipline department to complain. Although the upper house had 6 major divisions, there was only one discipline department. It had always been known for being impartial. The students of the upper house were most afraid of being called over by the discipline department for questioning. Therefore, the upper house had always been very calm. Although Director Xia Ho of the discipline department was only in charge of the discipline department, his prestige was on par with the chancellors of the 6 major branches. No one dared to underestimate him. He usually didn't interfere in small matters and spent most of his time cultivating. Today was no exception. While he was cultivating in his room, Manager Yu of the discipline department hurried over to report, Director Xia Ho, something has happened. Yan Qingsheng and Ding Wenru from the Primal Division blew up the walls of the Talisman Division and the Alchemy Division, and even severely injured a dozen students from the Talisman Division. Director Xia Ho. The students from the upper division had always followed the rules and regulations, but the 2 students from the Primal Division dared to be so arrogant. Was this a rebellion? Director Xia Ho's face immediately darkened. Bring the 2 of them to the discipline department immediately. I want to personally interrogate them on this matter. At this time, there were already quite a number of students gathered outside the law enforcement hall, especially the students of the Talisman and Alchemy Division. They were simply filled with righteous indignation. If it wasn't for the Academy's rules, they would probably have directly beaten up Yan Qingsheng and Ding Wenru. Xiao Lianxiao also rushed over when she heard the news. The first thing she saw was Jian Zhuyu in front of the crowd. She gritted her teeth. Jian Zhuyu, this bitch, had returned before she could deal with Yan Qingsheng. How hateful. Jian Zhuyu nodded politely when she saw her. Sister Lianxiao, I haven't seen you for a long time. You're becoming more and more attractive. Xiao Lianxiao snorted. Stop your hypocritical act. We both have feelings for Beiyu. Why are you acting in front of me? Jian Zhuyu was not angry. She lowered her voice and said, the common enemy between us is Yan Qingsheng. Why don't we work together to drive her out of the academy? As for the Northern Yu, we can rely on our own abilities. Chapter 58-48, Who is the plaintiff? Although Xiao Lianxiao did not want to deal with Jian Zhuyu, she felt that her suggestion was not bad. This was a good opportunity to drive Yan Qingsheng out of the academy. As long as the 2 of them worked together, they would not have to worry about not succeeding. It just so happened that Beiyu was not in the academy right now. It was not bad to take care of Yan Qingsheng. So, she nodded. What do you want to do? There's no need to specially prepare anything. Anyway, that Yan Qingsheng has already violated the academy's rules and caused public anger. You just need to cooperate with me when the time comes, Jian Zhuyu said softly. Xiao Lianxiao snorted coldly. Okay, I got it. She had always disliked Jian Zhuyu. Although both of them were equally famous, because Jian Zhuyu knew how to act, his reputation was much better than hers. At this time, Director Xia Ho arrived. He looked at the surrounding students, especially Jian Chenmu and the others who were covered in blood, and his expression became more and more unsightly. Jian Zhuyu saw the situation and sneered in his heart. She was not that idiot Xiao Lianxiao. She only needed to use a few tricks to get rid of that Yan Qingqing. At that time, she would just let Xiao Lianxiao take the blame. Since Yin Shujiu and Ding Wenru had not arrived yet, Director Xia Ho could not interrogate them. He frowned. Why hadn't he brought them here yet? Could it be that those two students still dared to put up a stubborn resistance? Just as he was thinking about it, the crowd behind him started shouting one after another, Yan Qingqing, Ding Wenru, you guys still have the face to come over. You guys are simply the scum of the 10 Directions Academy. Yan Qingqing, get out of the upper house. Get out of the 10 Directions Academy. Ding Wenru, get out of the upper house. Get out of the 10 Directions Academy. Director Xia Ho frowned and let out a loud cough that was filled with pressure. The scene immediately quieted down. A few guards of the discipline department then escorted Yun Shujiu and Ding Wenru through the crowd and walked over. Ding Wenru's face was full of anxiety and her heart was beating very fast. She reckoned that they would definitely be expelled this time. After all, the matter had been blown up so much that even if Qingqing had a belly full of evil water, it would be useless. He Xinjiu, however, looked as if she did not care at all. She even had the leisure to size up Director Xia Ho a few times. Seeing that everyone had arrived, Director Xia Ho slapped the table and said, "Plaintiff, tell us what exactly happened." Jian Zhuyu immediately took 2 steps forward. Just as she was about to speak, she heard a shrill female voice, "Director Xia Ho, you have to help us make a decision. It's a pity that our primal institution only has 2 weak women. We're going to be bullied to death. If it weren't for our strong will, we would probably be so depressed that we want to hang ourselves. I've always heard that you, Director Xia Ho, are the most fair and just. I believe that you will definitely deal with it impartially and give us justice." Jian Zhuyu. Everyone. This Yan Qingqing was too shameless. Are you the plaintiff or the defendant? Don't you know what's going on? Director Xia Ho was also a little confused, but his expression did not change. He said in a deep voice, "Get to the point. What exactly happened?" Director Xia Ho, Fuzhuan branch has occupied the place of our prehistoric branch. That's not all. They even severely injured Ding Wenru and destroyed the valuable property of our prehistoric branch, Yun Shujiu said with grief and indignation. Jian Zhuyu couldn't take it anymore. Director Xia Ho, Yan Qingqing is spouting nonsense. Yun Shujiu raised her voice and shouted, "Shut up. Shut up. Did Director Xia Ho let you speak? Do you know the rules? Moreover, it's the plaintiff's time to speak. Why would a defendant like you interrupt? Get lost." Chapter 58-49. Jian Zhuyu was so angry that she was dumbfounded. The onlookers also started to clamor, "Yan Qingqing, are you shameless? You are obviously the defendant. Exactly, you blew up the walls of the Talisman and Alchemy branch and even beat up people. How dare you call yourself the plaintiff? Director Xia Ho, don't listen to her nonsense. Our Talisman and Alchemy branch did not occupy the territory of their primeval branch. That's right. This Yan Qingqing is also shameless. Who doesn't know that the prehistoric faculty is just a small and shabby yard? Who would want to occupy it?" Director Xia Ho slammed the table, and only then did everyone quieten down. "Yan Qingqing, do you have any evidence to prove that the Talisman Seal faculty occupied the territory of your prehistoric faculty?" Yun Shujiu straightened her back and pointed at Ding Wenru who was beside her. Just 5 days ago, Jian Shenmu and the others from the Talisman Seal faculty openly built a stone wall in our prehistoric faculty and occupied more than half of our territory. When Ding Wenru tried to stop them, she was severely injured by them. At that time, this matter was also handled by the discipline department, and the result was very laughable. They only asked Jian Shenmu and the others to apologize and compensate Ding Wenru, but they turned that wall into a reasonable and legal existence. Director Xia Ho, I believe that you definitely didn't know about this matter. Otherwise, wouldn't the discipline department become a joke? Yun Shujo had already asked Ding Wenru before. At that time, the person who dealt with her matter was Manager Luo of the discipline department, not Director Xiaoho. She also knew that Director Xiaoho was the most impartial, so she dared to expose his shortcomings in public. Sure enough, when Director Xiaoho heard this, his expression immediately darkened. He looked at Manager Luo, who stood beside Manager Yu, and asked, "Manager Luo, is what Yan Qingqing said true?" A trace of panic flashed across Manager Luo's face, but it disappeared in an instant. She hurriedly said, "Director Xiaoho, this matter was indeed handled by me." Although Jian Shenmu and the others had a conflict with Ding Wenru, they did not use the spirit beast or the jade talisman seal. Moreover, Ding Wenru's injuries were not too serious. In addition, Jian Shenmu and the others sincerely regretted their actions, so I let both sides reconcile. At that time, Ding Wenru also agreed, so I let both sides reconcile. Manager Luo's words could be said to be watertight, and everything seemed to be reasonable. Yun Shujo sneered, "Manager Luo, even if your treatment is appropriate, shouldn't you have the Fuzhu? However, you didn't. Instead, you made that stone wall a reasonable and lawful existence. You are clearly favoring yourself for personal gain and bending the law. Who knows, you might have even received something that you shouldn't have." Manager Luo immediately flew into a rage out of humiliation. "Bastard! You actually dare to slander your teacher face to face. You are simply lawless. Director Xiaoho, you must not keep a student like her. Sooner or later, she will become a scourge." "No, she is a scourge now. You actually blew up the walls of the talisman and alchemy divisions. You even beat up your classmates. This is simply a heinous crime." Yun Shujo glanced at him and said with a cold gaze, "Let me ask you, why didn't you tear down the wall? Since it was built against the rules, why didn't you tear it down?" Manager Luo felt a little guilty under her cold gaze, and said with a stern look but a weak heart, "Your primal division only has 2 students, so you can't use such a big courtyard at all. Why don't you let the Talisman Seal division use it for the time being, so it can be considered as making the best use of everything?" Hearing that, Yun Shujo laughed sarcastically, "What a set of robber logic. Whether I need such a big place or not, what does it have to do with you? What right do you have to award the place of our prehistoric branch to the Talisman Seal branch? Director Xiaoho, I believe that with your wisdom, I don't need to say much to understand the twists and turns in this, right?" Chapter 5850, I apologize, I compensate. Director Xiaoho's eyes did not rub the sand, he immediately understood a bit. He glanced at Manager Luo, who forced herself to be calm, and then said to Yun Shujo, "This matter was indeed handled improperly by our discipline department. That stone wall should have been demolished. However, even so, you should not have injured the students of the Talisman Seal faculty. What do you have to say about this?" Yun Shujo blinked her eyes. "I was indeed the one who hit her. I apologize, I'll compensate you. Didn't Manager Luo treat Ding Wenru like this before? I followed suit. Director Xiaoho." At this moment, under Jian Ziyu's hint, Xiao Lianxiao said loudly, "Director Xiaoho, not only did Yan Qingqing blow up the wall of the Talisman division, she also blew up the wall of our alchemy division. The wall of our alchemy faculty is not built illegally. Please give us justice." Director Xiaoho nodded. "Yan Qingqing, what do you have to say about?" Yun Shujo straightened her back and said seriously, "Director Xiaoho, since things have come to this, I'm going to throw caution to the wind. I want to sue the alchemy faculty and the Talisman Seal faculty for forcibly occupying the territory of the primal faculty and demand that they return it to its owner. Originally, the area of our primeval faculty was about the same as their 2 faculties, but now there is only a small courtyard left. A large area and houses have been occupied by their 2 faculties. I know that my words are light, and in doing so, I have offended the people of the 2 faculties. But as the only 2 students of the primeval faculty, I naturally have to protect the rights and interests of the primeval faculty. I hope that Director Xiaohou will stand up for us. Xiao Lianxiao sneered, Yan Qingqing, you really can spout nonsense. Our alchemy division has occupied the territory of your primal division? What kind of joke is this? Who doesn't know that your primal division has long declined, and is only left with a broken courtyard? Jian Zhuyu chimed in from the side, Sister Lianxiao is right, if you say that the wall from before occupied your territory, it makes sense. As for saying that our two academies took up a large area of your primal institution's territory, that's simply nonsense. Those students who were watching the show also sneered and ridiculed, Yan Qingqing, are you crazy? Ever since I entered the institution, the primal institution only has so little space, how could it be taken up? That's right, our alchemy institution rarely takes up that fart-sized area of yours. Why didn't you say that the upper house is the territory of your primal division? How shameless. Director Xiaohou was just about to reprimand Yun Chuzhou when he suddenly thought of something and his expression became a little complicated. This Yan Qingqing really wasn't spouting nonsense. The Talisman Seal Division and Alchemy Division indeed occupied the territory of the Primal Division. However, almost 1,000 years had passed and the prehistoric faculty had declined again. Hence, no one mentioned this matter anymore. They treated it as if those places belonged to the Alchemy faculty and the Talisman faculty. He was upright and disdained to lie. However, if this matter were to be exposed, how would they end up? To have the Alchemy faculty and the Talisman faculty return the place to the prehistoric faculty? Wouldn't everything be in chaos then? If they didn't return it, it wouldn't make sense. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that this matter was difficult to handle. He glared fiercely at Manager Luo. If he had handled it fairly last time, this matter wouldn't have happened. Director Xiaohou thought about it and finally thought of a way to shift the blame. He immediately sent a message to President Gu and the 6 chancellors. As for the final decision of the matter, it was up to them. Chapter 58-51 was difficult to deal with. A moment later, President Gu and all the chancellors from the 6 branches had arrived. The 6 chancellors, especially Director Ren from the Alchemy branch and Director Zhao from the Talisman Seal branch, had a particularly ugly expression on their faces. The 2 of them were complaining in their hearts that Director Xiaohou was meddlesome. It was just a small Yan Qingqing. It would have been fine if she had found a reason to deceive them about this matter, but she had actually called them over. Why did she call them over? Could it be that she wanted them to return their territory to the prehistoric branch? What kind of joke was this? There were only 2 good-for-nothings in the prehistoric branch. How could they occupy so much territory? The other 4 chancellors were also a little worried. Although their 4 branches did not directly occupy the territory of the prehistoric branch, they had also occupied a lot of good things. If they were to settle the score, they would probably be skinned alive. Therefore, although the 6 chancellors did not say anything, they had reached a consensus in their hearts. Want territory? Want something? No way. President Gus' head was buzzing. It was not during his term that the 6 branches had taken points from the prehistoric branch, so he turned a blind eye to it. In any case, the 2 people at the back of the mountain would not come to the front at all. It was a pity that the prehistoric branch was abandoned. If the 6 branches occupied it, so be it. However, who would have thought that by a fluke, the Primal Chaos branch had recruited 2 useless students this year, and that Yan Qingqing was a troublemaker. She actually brought up this matter. It was really too difficult to handle. However, how did she find out? Everyone had their own thoughts, but more or less, they all felt that this Yan Qingqing was too nosy and was really not likable. Therefore, when everyone arrived, they all shot a glance at Yun Chuzhou at the same time. Jian Zhuyu and the others saw the situation and couldn't help but gloat in their hearts. It seemed that this Yan Qingqing was going to be unlucky, and very unlucky. A student said noisily, President Gu, this Yan Qingqing is spouting nonsense. She actually said that the Primeval Academy was originally the same size as the Alchemy Division. She even said that the Alchemy Division and the Talisman Division had occupied the Primeval Academy's territory. She's most likely crazy. That's right. This Enchanting is boasting shamelessly and spreading rumors. She should be expelled from the 10 Directions Academy. That's right. Enchanting, Ding Wenru, get out of the Upper Academy. Get out of the 10 Directions Academy. Jian Ziyu's thoughts were deep. Seeing that Director Xia Ho didn't say anything just now, she guessed that what Yun Chujiu said might be the truth, so she incited Xiao Lianxiao to speak. Xiao Lianxiao didn't know that there were twists and turns. She immediately said to Director Ren of the Alchemy Division, Chancellor, this Enchanting is boasting shamelessly that our Alchemy Division has occupied the territory of the Prehistoric Division. It's simply nonsense. It's good that you're here. Do you think she's talking nonsense? Chancellor Ren and Xiao Lianqiao's grandfather had a good relationship. He usually took care of Xiao Lianxiao, but at this time, he was quite angry with Xiao Lianxiao. It was really stupid to the extreme. It was like mentioning the pot in the pot. Chancellor Ren ignored Xiao Lianxiao and left her on the spot. Xiao Lianxiao still had some brains. Seeing the situation, she immediately knew that she had been played by Jian Zhuyu. She glared at Jian Zhuyu fiercely, wishing that she could strangle her to death. But under the watchful eyes of everyone, she couldn't do anything. She could only keep quiet with a flushed face. As the person in charge of the 10 Directions Academy, President Gu had no choice but to step forward at this moment. His tone was a little stiff as he said, Enchanting did not lie. The Alchemy Faculty and the Talisman Faculty have indeed occupied the place of the Primeval Faculty. However, it has been a long time since the incident and few people know about it. Chapter 58-52 ended here. As soon as President Gus' words left his mouth, the students who had been making a ruckus earlier were instantly dumbfounded. What? What Enchanting said was actually true. The Alchemy Division and the Talisman Seal Division had actually occupied the territory of the Prehistoric Division? Director Ren of the Alchemy Division and Director Zhao of the Talisman Seal Division looked a little embarrassed, but when he thought about how the other divisions had also gotten a piece of the PIE, he felt a little more natural. President Gu glanced at the other chancellors and asked, "What do you think about this?" Normally, such a big event should be discussed behind closed doors. However, since things had come to this point, they could only bring it to the surface. Director Ren of the Alchemy Division was the first to say, the Alchemy Division has indeed occupied a part of the Prehistoric Division's courtyard. However, this matter has already happened for nearly 1,000 years. Since it has already become an established fact, there is no need to change it. Dean Zhao of the Talisman Division echoed, "That's right. Based on the principle of making the best use of everything, it is more advantageous for the Academy to maintain the current situation. What's more, the Primal Chaos Division only has 2 students now. Their qualifications might not necessarily be able to pass the exam. When that time comes, the Primal Chaos Division will become a mere decoration. Why go through so much trouble?" Dean Zhao's words make sense. Be it the 6 major divisions or the Primal Chaos Division, they are all assets of the upper house. As long as they are used reasonably, there is no need to divide them so clearly. Dean Sun of the Array Division stroked his Shan Yanghu and said, "President Li of the Beast Master Branch, President Zhou of the Spirit Power Branch, and President Wu of the Weapon Refining Branch all expressed their views." Basically, they were saying the same thing as President Zhao and the others, that they had already occupied them. Then, it would be better to maintain the current situation. Yun Chujiu sneered in her heart. These old things are even more shameless than her. Isn't this the same as borrowing things? Although President Gu was the president, it wasn't appropriate for him to say anything. Seeing that President Zhao and the others had the same opinion, he could only say to Yun Chujiu, "Enchanting, you've heard it too. Maintaining the current situation is the best way. So, you shouldn't keep harping on this matter in the future." When President Gu said this, his expression was somewhat uncomfortable. After all, he still wanted his face. But for the sake of the overall situate, He couldn't offend the 6 chancellors just because of Yan Qingqing, causing chaos in the upper house. Yun Shujiu let out a long sigh. Sigh. Since you say so, President, I can't say anything. It's just that this territory has been occupied for so long, and the things have also been used for so long. Shouldn't we give our prehistoric branch some rent? The 6 chancellors could not believe their ears. This Yan Qingqing actually wanted to ask for rent from them? She was asking for money, but not her life. Wasn't she afraid that if she angered them, she would not be able to survive in the upper house? President Gu was also speechless. This Yan Qingqing was really daydreaming. She was just a student of the primal institution, and she might not be one for long. Where did she get the courage to ask for rent? President Gus's face darkened. Ridiculous. How is this possible? Let's call it a day and call it a day. Ding Wenru saw that President Gus's face was very ugly. The other chancellors also had gloomy faces. They quickly dragged He Xinjiu away, afraid that she would do something reckless. He Xinjiu did not resist and left with Ding Wenru. Jian Shenmu and the others who were beaten up were dumbfounded. So they had been beaten up for nothing? President Gu had said that this matter would end here, so there was definitely no one to stand up for them. Chapter 58-53. Trick. Seeing that Yun Shujiu had left obediently, President Gus's expression eased up a little. This Yan Qingqing was quite tactful. If the matter was blown up, there would definitely be no benefits for her. President Gu could not help but feel a little fortunate. Fortunately, the 2 people at the back of the mountain were in closed-door cultivation. Otherwise, if they knew that they had taken in such a troublemaker, they would definitely not spare him. Just now, he saw that her and Ding Wenru's cultivation had improved a lot. Even so, in the upper house, which was full of talented people, they were still trash. President Gu exchanged a few more pleasantries with the other chancellors before returning to his own courtyard. A few days later, on this morning, President Gu was in the study dealing with official business when President Zhao and the others came in a rage. President. That Yan Qingqing is too outrageous. She must be expelled. Yes, such a mischievous student shouldn't stay in the academy. She's simply a scourge. That makes sense. Yan Qingqing and that Ding Wenru must be expelled. President Gu was confused and asked in puzzlement, what happened? President Ren of the Alchemy Division said angrily, Yan Qingqing hung all of the prehistoric division all over our alchemy division. Even the trunk of the tree had the words all of the prehistoric division written all over it. The most infuriating thing is that I don't know how she did it. She even wrote see all of the prehistoric division on my wall. It's even written in bloody red. It's the same for our talisman seal branch. There are signs of all of the prehistoric branch everywhere, and there are even a bunch of ants on the ground forming the words see all of the prehistoric branch. The students have been made to have no interest in learning. This is really outrageous. President Zhao of the Talisman Seal Branch also said angrily. The corner of President Gus's eyes twitched violently, and he looked at the other presidents. What's the matter? President Sun of the Array Division said angrily, Yan Qingqing didn't hang a sign in our division, but she always hangs a sign that says, borrow something and don't return it to the bastard. She is really hateful. President Wu of the Beast Master Division and President Zhou of the Spirit Power Division nodded repeatedly. Apparently, Yan Qingqing also went to the Beast Master Division and the Spirit Power Division to hang a sign on the street. President Gu was both angry and amused at the same time. He said, why are you guys so angry? Just let her do whatever she wants. After a few days, she will be tired and won't do anything anymore. After all, we are in the wrong. She didn't violate the rules of the school, so it's not easy for me to deal with her. President Zhao and the others looked depressed. That Yan Qingqing didn't belong to any of their schools, so there was no way to deal with her directly. They went to find Director Xia Ho of the Discipline Department to report her, but they didn't expect that Director Xia Ho would say that Yan Qingqing didn't violate the rules of the academy and that he wasn't easy to deal with. That was why they came to find President Gu. They didn't expect that President Gu would say the same thing. It was so infuriating. President Zhao said angrily, "President, are we just going to let her jump up and down? You don't know, but that's not all. I heard that she is preparing a ceremony in the Primeval Sub-Academy to expiate the ancestors of the Primeval Sub-Academy." Clang! Before President Zhao could finish his words, the teacup in President Gus' hand fell to the ground and shattered. What did you say? What is she going to do? President Zhao didn't expect President Gu to have such a big reaction. He mumbled, "She's going to ferry the ancestors of the Primal Chaos branch." What's wrong with that? President Gu was so angry that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. What was wrong? If the two people at the back of the mountain knew that they were being crossed over as dead people, they would probably strangle him to death. Chapter 58-54. The role model of a good student. President Gu slammed the table. Nonsense. This Yan Qingqing is really being ridiculous. Men, bring Yan Qingqing and Ding Wenru over here. President Zhao and the others looked at each other. They didn't see how angry the president was when he mentioned those things. Why did the president have such a big reaction when he mentioned that Yan Qingqing was going to perform a ritual? Among the 10 Directions Academy, only President Gu knew about the existence of the two elders at the back of the mountain. Therefore, President Zhao and the others were really confused. At this moment, in the Primeval Sub-Academy, He Xinjiu was commanding a few servants to arrange the things needed for the ritual. Ding Wenru said with a worried look, "Qingqing, have we gone too far in the past few days?" The two of them had become like rats crossing the street. If it weren't for the strict regulations of the upper house, they would have been beaten up by the crowd. Yun Shuzhou glanced at her. "Do you think that if we hadn't caused such a ruckus, those people would find us pleasing to the eye? As long as we were still in the upper house, they would remember where they lived. The things they used belonged to our prehistoric branch. They wished they could get rid of the two of us as an eyesore. Since that's the case, let's blow up the matter and still have a chance of survival." Ding Wenru was stunned. She thought about it carefully and felt that what Yun Shuzhou said made sense. However, could they really have a chance of survival? She was afraid that they would be expelled. At this moment, a guard came over. "Yan Qingqing, Ding Wenru, the principal has summoned you. Come with us." Ding Wenru's expression changed. She knew it was the end of the line. Yun Shuzhou looked indifferent and said to the servants, "Do your job. If you do a good job, the reward will not be small." The servants were paid to do their job, so they naturally agreed. Soon, Yun Shuzhou and Ding Wenru were brought in front of President Gu and the other chancellors. "Hello, President, hello, chancellors." He Xinjiu greeted them with a smile. Ding Wenru was already drenched in cold sweat from the pressure from President Gu and the other chancellors. It was difficult for her to even stand up, let alone salute them. A hint of surprise flashed in President Gus' eyes. Yan Qingqing was not afraid of their pressure. However, in his rage, he did not have time to think about it. He slapped the desk and said, "Yan Qingqing, you are too ridiculous." Ding Wenru was so shocked that she collapsed to the ground. He Xinjiu blinked her eyes and asked innocently, "Why did you say that?" "President, where did you get this idea from?" "I have been following the rules for the past few days and did not break any of the rules. I am simply the model of a good student. Where is the troublemaker?" President Gu and the 6 chancellors were almost angered by this guy's shamelessness. Well behaved? The model of a good student? To think that she had the nerve to say it out loud, she was simply shameless. You're not fooling around? What's with the sign of the Alchemy Division and the Talisman Division? You go to the Beast Taming Division, the Array Division, the Spirit Energy Division, and the Artifact Refining Division to parade all day long. How does that count? Also, you actually want to hold some ceremony? This is simply fooling around. President Gu said angrily. Yun Shujia's expression became even more innocent. Is there a problem with the sign of the alchemy division and the talisman seal division? The place where I set up the sign is indeed the territory of our primal division. As for my sign, I didn't mention the few chancellors present. I was just reminding myself not to do such a shameless thing. Sigh, I also had no choice but to hold the ceremony. Sister Ding and I are like orphans that no one wants. We were bullied by our neighbors. What can we do? We could only cry on the graves of our ancestors. Besides, as the only two students of the prehistoric institution, isn't it normal for us to pay tribute to the ancestors of the prehistoric institution? Chapter 58-55. I will immediately turn over a new leaf. The six chancellors' faces alternated between red and white. It was obvious that they were angered by Yun Chujia's scolding. Ding Wenru's body was soaked in cold sweat. She kept signaling Yun Chujio with her eyes. It was enough. Otherwise, not only would she be expelled, she might even lose her life. President Gu looked at Yun Chujia's aggrieved look and was so angry that he gritted his teeth. If it were not for the fact that there was no precedent for teachers of the 10 Directions Academy to beat up students directly, he would have slapped her away directly. He finally understood why the 6 chancellors were so angry. This Yan Qingqing was really infuriating. He Xinjiu was also a little worried. This time, she had gone too far. In fact, if Ding Wenru had not been beaten up and the talisman charm faculty had not come to provoke her, she would not have wanted the territory of the prehistoric faculty right now. However, now that things had come to this, she had no way out. She could only brace herself and play the part well. President Gu and the others were all people who cared about their reputation anyway. They would not take revenge on her publicly. When the pretty boy got the thing, she would be gone. It did not matter whether they hated her or not. President Gu took a deep breath. No matter what your starting point is, you have now seriously disturbed the order of the upper house. Cancel the ceremony immediately. Also, clean up the signboards and handwriting of the alchemy division and the talisman division. You are not allowed to parade on the streets with the signboards anymore. HMPH, didn't you say that you didn't violate the rules of the academy? We will add this clause to the rules of the academy right now. If you don't comply, you will be severely punished. Seeing that President Gu was fuming with anger, He Xinjiu immediately said with a regretful look, "Courtyard, after hearing what you said, I deeply realized my mistake. I will immediately turn over a new leaf and promise that I will never make a mistake again." The 6 chancellors looked at the sobbing He Xinjiu and the anger in their hearts eased a little. If this Yan Qingqing was a student of their own branch, they would definitely teach her a lesson. However, she was a student of the primeval branch who did not care about anything. They could only ask the president to teach her a lesson. Seeing Yun Chujio like this, President Gus' expression softened a little. I know that you are not convinced because of what happened a few days ago, but this is a decision made from the overall considerations of the academy. Don't mess around again in the future. The two of you should focus on your cultivation so that you won't be sent back to the lower house during the big exam. The reason why President Gu was so lenient towards Yun Chujio was partly because Yun Chujio had discovered the corpse earlier and avoided unforeseen trouble. On the other hand, the 100-year grand competition was about to begin. Although the two people at the back of the mountain would not show their faces in public, they would definitely head to the venue of the grand competition. Those two people had never acted according to common sense. If they were to admit these 2 useless students and Yan Qingqing was someone who was good at complaining, wouldn't he dig a hole for himself? Yun Chujio nodded obediently. Then, she said pitifully, "President, because of the Chaos Branch's territory, Ding Wenru and I have become street rats. The students of the 6 branches all want to kill us to vent their anger." President Gu and the 6 chancellors thought that they deserved it. They deserved it. He Xinjiu continued, "One was so angry that I did something irrational. Now we know that we were wrong. Do you think you and the 6 chancellors can show some kindness and ask them not to make things difficult for us? We don't have the protection of our teachers or the protection of our classmates. We can only rely on the president and the 6 chancellors." After saying that, Yun Shuzhou looked at President Gu and the 6 chancellors pitifully. Her eyes were as red as a rabbit's, and she was still a weak little white rabbit. Chapter 58-56 Targeted President Gu pondered for a moment and looked at the 6 chancellors. This matter has been causing a ruckus for such a long time. It's time to stop. When you go back, knock on the door and stop targeting the 2 of them. Although the 6 chancellors were unwilling, they couldn't say anything since they had their own identities. They all nodded. President Gu then waved his hand at Yun Shuzhou and Ding Wenru. You guys go back and settle the aftermath, especially the ceremony. Stop it immediately. Yun Shuzhou obediently agreed and left President Gu's study. This guy left President Gu's courtyard and rolled his eyes. Why did she listen to President Gu's words and seem to care about the ceremony? Although the hosting ceremony was a little rash, it was not to the extent that President Gu would lose his sense of propriety. What was the reason for this? Ding Wenru saw that she was a little stunned and asked in puzzlement, Qingqing, what's wrong? Yun Shuzhou did not hide her doubts and explained her doubts. It's probably because the 10 Directions Academy has some taboo about such things. I think you're thinking too much. Can't you see that the 6 chancellors are all there? They must have complained about us. That's why the headmaster is so angry, said Ding Wenru. Yun Shuzhou shook her head. No, there must be something wrong. Forget it. If you don't understand, then don't think about it. We'll talk about it when we get back. Ding Wenru said with a bitter smile, we still have to pick the sign and wipe the words. I can imagine that those people will be mocking us again. Yun Shuzhou looked at her as if she was looking at an idiot. Who said that we have to pick it ourselves? Aren't there those handymen? Just hire them to pick it. Ding Wenru. With money, they could really do whatever they wanted. On the other side, the 6 chancellors came out from President Gu's courtyard and looked at each other. Although the president had already ordered that Yan Qingqing had changed, but was it just going to let it go? In all these years, they had never been so sullen. They had been played by a student to such an extent. It was simply embarrassing. However, with their status, it was really not good to make things difficult for a student. Therefore, the 6 of them made a decision with tacit understanding. That was that no one had gone to beat up the students of their respective branches. Anyway, it was just a small matter. President Gu would not fall out with them because of this. In the next few days, wherever Yun Shuzhou and Ding Wenru went, they would be ostracized by everyone. There were even people who threw away some dirty things at the entrance of the prehistoric branch. There were even people who poured dog blood on the door. The 6 chancellors had heard of this matter, but they pretended not to know anything and did not speak out to stop them. When everyone saw that Yun Shuzhou and Ding Wenru had been swallowing their anger, they became even more arrogant. They were just 2 useless people who had no one to rely on. What could they do to them? Nangong Shi had stood up for Ding Wenru a few times, but he made some of the girls target Ding Wenru even more. Nangong Shi was quite annoyed when he saw this. In addition, Ding Wenru was still cold and indifferent to him, so he had no choice but to bite the bullet and look for Yun Shuzhou. When Nangong Shi arrived at the gate of the primal institution, he saw the dirty gate and the mess on the ground. He frowned and knocked on the gate. Ding Wenru opened the gate and saw that it was him. She simply nodded and didn't say anything. Nangong Shi felt an indescribable feeling in his heart, but he didn't know where to begin. He could only say to Yun Shuzhou, who was sitting on a stone chair and drinking tea, you still have the leisure to drink tea here? How badly has the gate of your prehistoric institution been ruined? Chapter 58-57 Flowers are about to bloom. Yun Shuzhou put down her teacup and said with a smile, out of sight, out of mind. Once I close the door, I won't be able to see. Nangong Shi was speechless. After sitting down, he said, these people are really too much. They actually use such underhanded methods to bully you. It's a pity that there are too many people involved. If the law doesn't punish the masses, it's not good to pursue the matter. Yun Shuzhou curled the corners of her lips. If the law doesn't punish the masses? Hee, the law will punish the masses. It's just whether I want to or not. Nangong Shi was stunned. What do you plan to do? Complain to President. The reason why Nangong Shi asked this was very simple. The chancellors of the 6 branches had all been offended by this fellow in front of her. The only person she could find to rely on was President Gu. Yun Shujo shook her head. No matter what, don't rely on others. Only you can rely on yourself. Nangong Shi was even more confused. What did she mean? Didn't you say that you would throw us into the 6 Harmonies waterside pavilion to train in a few days? At that time, I will deal with them one by one. I will let them know who they can offend and who they cannot offend, Yun Shujo said with a cold smile. Nangong Shi wanted to say that there were so many people. How could the two of them deal with so many people? However, when he thought of the strange thing that Yun Shujo had done in the 100 Pits mountain range, he cleverly shut his mouth. He chatted with her for a while. When he saw that Ding Wenru had been ignoring him, he was somewhat annoyed. In the end, he left dejectedly. Yun Shujo covered her mouth and giggled. Sister Ding, recently, there are flowers in our courtyard that are about to bloom. Ding Wenru was at a loss. There are flowers about to bloom? Weren't the flowers and plants you planted previously destroyed by Jian Shenmu and the others? It's only been 2 days since they were planted, how could they bloom so quickly? Yun Shujo said meaningfully, this flower is not the same flower. It's already a flower bud and will bloom very soon. Ding Wenru was even more at a loss. Forget it, she didn't understand a lot of what Qingqing said anyway. She could have whatever flowers she wanted. She took out a piece of paper and handed it to Yun Shujo. Qingqing, these are the people who came to our door to cause trouble. Most of them are the lackeys of Jian Shenmu from the Talisman Division. Other than that, there are also some people from the Alchemy Division. This was understandable. After all, the students from the 4 divisions of the Beast Master Division didn't have any direct conflict with Yun Shujo, so they only mocked her and didn't do anything out of the ordinary. However, the Talisman Division and the Alchemy Division were different. Previously, Yun Shujo blew up their wall and even beat up people. In addition, Jian Zhuyu and Xiao Lianxiao fanned the flames, so they naturally would not let it go. Yun Shujo glanced at the name list. Remember their looks, and then well deal with them. Ding Wenru nodded. What she was best at now was blackmailing people. As the two of them were talking, footsteps came from outside the door, followed by a familiar voice, open the door. Yun Shujo immediately jumped up from her chair. Her pretty boy had finally returned. Yun Shujo opened the door and indeed saw a certain someone standing outside. The certain person's brows were tightly knitted. Obviously, he was puzzled when he saw the mess at the door. Ding Wenru tactfully said, I'll go to the door to cool down for you guys. You guys chat. Ding Wenru left the courtyard after saying that. She finally found a clean place to keep watch. What's going on at the door? A certain venerable had just returned from the trial and did not know what had happened. Yun Shujo told them everything that had happened in the Baihang mountain range and what had happened recently. When she saw the gaze of a certain venerable, she inexplicably felt a little guilty. Chapter 58. I'm so well-behaved. He Shinjo quickly explained, I saw Ding Wenru being beaten up so badly, so I blew up the wall on impulse. When the wall blew up, I had no choice but to make a big deal out of it, which led to the current situation. Yun Shujo knew that Di Baiming wanted her to keep a low profile so as to avoid unnecessary trouble. But sometimes, it was not her who caused trouble, it was the trouble that provoked her. For example, that dead grasshopper and that Sha Mo were clearly the ones who provoked her. There was also Xiao Lianxiao, Director Xiaofu, and that Jian Zhuyu. They were all people that she had bumped into. She was also very helpless, okay? Thinking of this, Yun Shujo pouted and said, actually, this is all because of you. If it weren't for you attracting bees and butterflies everywhere, I wouldn't have been in so much trouble. Sigh, look at how well behaved I am. I don't even have a single peach blossom. Unlike you, who provoked a bunch of white lotus flowers. A certain someone sneered, you're well behaved? You don't have to worry. Do you believe it? Actually, a certain someone wanted to say that there wasn't even a single peach blossom. There was that idiot Shua Wuji in the front, that damned Lan Luochen in the back, and a mermaid who wasn't sure if she was dead or not. Yet, she still had the nerve to say that she didn't have any peach blossoms. Besides, although there were many white lotus flowers, they were no match for a little pervert like her. She could easily kill them. However, the ones she provoked were more and more difficult to deal with. Of course, a certain someone was just thinking in his heart. He would not say it even if he was beaten to death. Otherwise, where would he put his face? Hei Shinjo laughed dryly. It was just a joke. Did you take it seriously? Well, let's get down to business. Where are we going to find the demon emperor that Sha Mo mentioned? It's not that I have nothing better to do. The main reason is that my parents and Wu Ji will have to deal with the demons sooner or later. If we find their demon emperor, we can use the demon emperor to command the demons. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Sha Mo. Hearing Hei Xinjia's words, Butt-Face, who was in the spiritual beast pouch, gloated at Sha Mo, who knew nothing at all. This old fool did not know that he had been set up by the little fairy. How pitiful. Di Biming thought for a moment and said, when Shue Wuji's seal is further broken, or your parents' demonic nature awakens, perhaps we can get some clues about the demon emperor. Yun Shujo felt that what he said made sense. Besides, there was no rush in this matter. They could just take a long time to think about it. Di Biming changed the topic. Give me the names of the people who were fooling around in Fro. I'll go and warn them. Yun Shujo shook her head, don't do that. It's not easy for me to find something fun. I can handle it myself. Besides, I don't care. You're different. You're a student of the spiritual power faculty. If I delay your participation in the 100-year competition, it won't be worth it. Di Biming said seriously, Little Jiu, are you planning to leave the 10 Directions Academy after I get that thing? Is that why you deliberately caused such a big fuss? Di Biming understood Yun Shujo. He knew that although she was temperamental, she was not someone who did not know her limits. For her to act so recklessly, it was obvious that she did not plan to stay in the academy for long. Yun Shujo said matter-of-factly, that's right. Since you have already left, why should I stay in this godforsaken place? That's not appropriate. Your cultivation is too low now. Staying in the academy is the best choice. Although your cultivation method is special, the 10 Directions Academy has a deep foundation. There will always be things you can learn. Furthermore, even if your identity is exposed in the future, the 10 Directions Academy will not hand you over to the Divine Devil Hall. I can only rest assured if you are not in danger. Di Biming said seriously. Chapter 58-59, I have a backer now? Yun Shujo immediately pouted in dissatisfaction, of course not. I don't want to stay in this damn place. Wu JP's brain and the little madman's cultivation are not much stronger than mine. Why can they follow you and I can't? Di Biming sighed, although that idiot Shue Wuji is a little stupid, with the release of the seal, he is no longer comparable to you now. And Feng may not be as strong as Shue Wuji, but he is still much stronger than you. Furthermore, I don't want to put you in danger, even if it's just a small risk. I can't protect you anytime, anywhere. I already owe you something, so I can't let you put yourself in danger again. Moreover, if you want to save your parents, you have to deal with the 10,000 Buddha's sacred palace. The 10 Directions Academy has a relationship with the 10,000 Buddha's sacred palace, so maybe you can find a suitable opportunity. In fact, Di Biming had said so much because he did not want Yun Shujo to be in danger with him. Yun Shujo had already planned everything. After the 100-year competition, she would follow Di Biming and kill everyone. Now that she was told to stay in the 10-directional academy, how could she not do it? Even if Di Biming said all the right things, even if she knew that Di Biming was doing it for her own good, this fellow still cried and made a scene. It was as though he was going to break someone's heart. Di Biming hugged Yun Shijia's hand tightly. Little Jiu, trust me, this will end very soon. We will be together for a long time very soon. Trust me. You are a heartbreaker who abandoned your wife and child. I don't believe you. Hei Shinjo said this, but she also kept her tears. A certain someone smiled bitterly. It was fine that he abandoned his wife, but why did he abandon his child? He didn't even get to eat the minced meat. Where did he get the son? A certain someone coaxed her again and took out the food that he had specially brought back for her during this experiential learning. This made Hei Shinjo smile from tears. Humph. If you want to stay here, then stay here. If you want me to follow you, then I don't want to follow you. There is food and fun here. It's much better than following you through life and death. Hei Shinjo said angrily. Hei Shinjo couldn't help but feel a little regretful when she said this. If she had known earlier that she would stay here, she wouldn't have been so evil. She really regretted it. Now that she had offended all the 6 chancellors, even President Gu wasn't as friendly to her as before. How would she live in the future? The more she thought about it, the worse she felt. Indeed, impulsiveness was the devil. As she thought about it, she couldn't help but think of President Gus's strange behavior. She said, "Oh right, I think there is something strange. When I was a demon, I found that President Gu was very concerned about my plan. What do you think is the reason?" Di Biming frowned and thought for a while. Then he said, "Now that you say it like that, I remember something. The reason why I was restrained in the 10 Directions Academy and didn't dare to be careless was mainly because I was afraid of the 2 Supreme Elders of the 10 Directions Academy. I also happened to know that there were 2 Supreme Elders of the 10 Directions Academy with profound cultivation. This matter was very secretive and few people knew about it. Thinking about the ritual that you mentioned, I have a guess that the 2 Supreme Elders were originally from the Primal Academy. That's why President Gu was so excited when he heard that you were going to hold a ceremony for the ancestors of the prehistoric branch. After all, those 2 are still alive and well." Yun Shijia's eyes were wide open. "Do you mean that I have a backer? One that is indestructible?" Chapter 5860, I Am the Ancestors. Order. Di Biming was already used to his wife's strange brain circuits. He immediately poured cold water on her. "I'm just guessing. Moreover, even if my guess is correct, those 2 might not be your backers. After all, the Primal Chaos branch hasn't recruited any students for so many years. I'm afraid that they already don't care about the matters of the Primal Chaos branch." What a certain someone was too embarrassed to say was, "Don't you know how you entered the primeval institution? It's because the 6 branches don't want you, so they put you in the primeval institution." Hei Shinjo was not bothered by it. Her eyelashes were about to burst with joy. "Io, other people have golden lives and fire lives, but PM the ancestor's life." A certain someone. "Look, I often accidentally became the little ancestor Yun, the ghost ancestor, and the monster ancestor. Now it seems that I am going to become the grand teacher of the children of the 10 Directions Academy again. What kind of life is this if not the ancestor's life?" Hei Shinjo said smugly. A certain elder was speechless and said helplessly, "Calm down first. Maybe I am wrong. Those 2 are not from the Primeval Academy. I don't care whether they are or not. Even if they are not, they'll think of a way to make them be. Anyway, PM definitely going to depend on these 2 big backers. PM definitely going to be the Grandmaster. Humph. Those 6 chancellors are all putting on airs. They've made me suffer a lot of cowardice. When the time comes, they'll make them kowtow obediently and call me Grandmaster. President Gu, no, little Gu Z is still all right. I won't make things difficult for him then." Seeing that Hei Shinjo was already immersed in the beautiful dream that she had woven, a certain honored master could only laugh bitterly and sit by the side to listen to her blabbering. Hei Shinjo thought about it for a while and was so happy that she couldn't close her mouth. Di Baiming then said indifferently, I heard that those two are always in closed-door cultivation. PM afraid that you won't even be able to see them, let alone other things. Hei Shinjo blinked her eyes. This was indeed a problem. If she couldn't see them, those two old geezers didn't know that there were such outstanding students like her. Hei Shinjo immediately became dispirited. This backer didn't seem to be very reliable. This fellow's mood instantly took a turn for the worse. He wasn't in the mood to talk to Di Baiming anymore, so he directly chased the miserable one out. After Ding Wenru entered, she saw Yun Chujia's distressed expression and asked curiously, Qingcheng, what happened to you? Did Beiyu bully you? HMPH, he dares? Hei Shinjo said angrily. Then what's wrong with you? Are you worried that President Gu and the 6 chancellors will give us a hard time? Hei Shinjo curled her lips, they are just a bunch of disciples and grand disciples. How dare they give us a hard time? Unless they don't want to live anymore. Ding Wenru. What disciples and grand disciples? Was Qingcheng crazy? Qingcheng, are you okay? Ding Wenru looked worried. I'm fine, PM fine. I just thought of the reason why President Gu is so disgusted with our organization. What reason? Ding Wenru asked curiously. I guess there must be a living teacher in the prehistoric institution. That's why President Gu is so excited. Think about it. It's said that the prehistoric branch hasn't recruited students for 1,000 years. The living ones must be at least 1,000 years old, or even older. We are their own disciples, their seniority must be higher than President Gu and the others. Yun Chujiao said proudly. Ding Wenru was stunned when she heard that. Is your guess reliable? Is there really a living teacher in the prehistoric branch? Chapter 58-61 cried and begged me to be his disciple. Of course there is. Otherwise, why would President Gu be so anxious to stop us from doing anything? Moreover, if there wasn't anyone alive, why would the primal region still have such a courtyard and a plaque? Obviously, he was afraid that our master would come back to settle the score with them. Yun Chujiao said with certainty. Ding Wenru was speechless. Let's not talk about whether there was a so-called master or not. Even if there was, it was not a master. This master was different from a lecturer. A master could only be accepted by another master. Based on their current cultivation level, they might be kicked out of the primeval institution, not to mention being accepted as disciples. Qingcheng, even if your guess is right, if there really is a master alive, he might not accept us as disciples. Besides, after saying so much, where is this so-called master? Humph. We have to accept him or not. However, PM also a little worried. How can we invite our master out? Hei Shinjo held her chin and mumbled. Since the headmaster is against us doing the ritual, he must know about our master. However, I wonder if he will tell us. Before Ding Wenru could finish her words, Hei Shinjo dashed out like a rabbit. I'll go find the headmaster. Hei Shinjo ran all the way to the door of President Gu's courtyard and was stopped by the guards. Tell President Gu that I have something important to report to him, Yun Chujiao said mysteriously. Immediately, a guard came inside to report. President Gu had heard a little about Yun Chujiao and Ding Wenru's recent situation and thought that she was here to complain. He said to the guard, tell her that I'm very busy and don't have time to see her. After hearing the guard's words, Yun Chujiao blinked her eyes. Please come again, brother guard. Tell her that an old man from our Primal Academy came and claimed to be the teacher of the Primal Academy. The guard had been in the 10 Directions Academy for a long time. He was dumbfounded after hearing Yun Chujia's words. The teacher of the Primal Academy? Hadn't the Primal Academy been empty for 800 years? However, he saw Yun Chujia's serious face and did not seem to be lying, so he went in to report. President Gu was drinking tea when he heard the guard's words. The teacup fell to the ground with a bang and he stood up abruptly. What did you say? The guard repeated Yun Chujia's words again. President Gu was shocked. Could it be that one of the people in the back mountain had come out of seclusion? He immediately walked out of the study. After thinking for a moment, he stopped and said, "Call Yan Qingqing in." He Xinjiu was immediately called in by the guard. Seeing the shocked expression on the guard's face, he was even more certain that he was his ancestor's fate. The guard was so shocked. It was obvious that President Gu's expression revealed something. It seemed that she was going to have a new master. He Xinjiu entered the study room and saw that although President Gu tried his best to hide it, the water stains on the ground showed everything. She bowed to President Gu respectfully. President Gu, it's been a long time since we last met. I miss you so much. I'm glad to meet you. President Gu was not in the mood to pay attention to her messy words. He asked, the guard said that someone from the prehistoric institution called himself a teacher? Yun Chujiu nodded with certainty. That's right. It was an old man who said that he was the teacher of the prehistoric institution. He cried and begged me to be his disciple. President, he must be crazy, right? Please quickly send someone to arrest him. Chapter 5862, I am very outstanding nonsense. What are you trying to catch? It is a great fortune that he is willing to accept you as his disciple. President Gu slammed the table and roared angrily. He Xinjiu was immediately delighted. Io, looks like what the pretty boy said is true. Those two unworldly experts are indeed from the prehistoric branch. This fellow blinked his eyes. President, don't be so agitated. What I said just now was just that I had a dream. It was just that this dream was too real, so I came to you. President Gu. He was so angry that he almost cringed. He had seen naughty students before, but this was the first time he had seen such a capable student like this. Just a dream, and he came to him with such a bashful expression. It was absolutely detestable. Yan Qingqing. President Gu slammed the table hard. You are getting more and more outrageous. You actually tricked me. Men. Send Yan Qingqing to the discipline department and deal with her seriously. President, don't be agitated. Listen to my explanation first. I can't escape anyway. You can punish me however you want. Brother guard, go out first. After I have a private talk with the president, you can come and arrest me, He Xinjiu said with a smile. The guard naturally wouldn't listen to her. Instead, he looked at President Gu. President Gu suppressed the anger in his heart and waved his hand at the guard. After the guard went out, he said with a cold face, "What do you have to explain?" Yan Qingqing, on account of your previous meritorious service, I have been extremely lenient towards you. I didn't expect you to become more and more outrageous. You're really useless. President, I remember all the good you've done for me. I didn't mean to lie to you. I really had that dream. I probably had a dream every day. A few days ago, you vehemently objected to my way of doing things, so I thought, why are you so agitated? After thinking about it, I felt that there must be some teachers in our primal institution who are still alive and kicking. That's why you had such a big reaction. Am I right? President Gu's expression did not change, but he was very shocked in his heart. This Yan Qingqing was practically turning into a demon. The 6 chancellors did not notice the abnormality, but she guessed correctly. Seeing that President Gu did not speak, Yun Chujiu sighed, sigh. President Gu, I was forced into a corner. These few days, Ding Wenru and I have been living in the abyss of suffering. I suddenly grabbed onto this life-saving straw. Of course, I was ecstatic. If there were still living teachers in our primal institution, who would dare to bully us? President Gu, please be a good person and let me meet my master. I'm sure he will be very happy to see such an outstanding student like me. President Gu was speechless. Where did you get your confidence from? Master? Outstanding? If those two knew that the primal region had taken in such a good-for-nothing like you, they might send you flying with a slap. They might even implicate him in getting scolded. President Gu wanted to deny it, but on second thought, this Enchanting had a stomach full of schemes. Now that she was certain of this matter, it was useless for him to deny it. He thought for a moment and said, "The two seniors have long stopped asking about the matters of the primal region. Don't expect too much. In addition, if the two of them know of your and Ding Wenris existence, I'm afraid that you won't even be able to stay in the upper academy. After all, the criteria for the primal region to recruit students was very high in the past. So, you should give up on this idea and don't mention this to anyone else. Go back." Yun Chujio immediately straightened her back. "Dean, I don't like what you're saying. So what if my standards are high? I'm not bad either. I think PM very outstanding, and PM the only outstanding one." Chapter 5863 My luck is good. President Gu simply did not know where this fellow in front of him got his confidence from. Other than his broken mouth, what else was outstanding about him? President Gu thought that his self-restraint was relatively good, but at this moment, he could not help but sneer. "Enchanting, tell me, what are your outstanding qualities?" Yun Shijia's small face was full of pride. "Let's not talk about my peerless beauty that could topple a country. Let's not talk about my earth-shattering talent. Just one thing, I am more outstanding than the others, not just a little bit." President Gus' mouth twitched violently. Peerless beauty? Peerless talent? Was this Enchanting blind? He asked with a hint of sarcasm. "Oh? Which point are you referring to?" "My luck is good. Look, I just casually went fishing and made a huge contribution. I just casually pursued him and got a cabbage like Northern you. I was casually sent to the Primeval Academy and casually won over everyone. Do you think my luck is heaven-defying? Am I very outstanding?" President Gu endured it and did not say what he was thinking. "The most outstanding thing about you was, how shameless. Enchanting, it's useless for you to say all this. Not only does the prehistoric branch require a higher cultivation level than the other branches, it also requires 2 more skills. It's precisely because the requirements are so high that it has been unable to recruit suitable students. You can go back now. If you continue to pester me, I will order someone to send you to the disciplinary department for punishment." Yun Chujio immediately clapped her hands. "Headmaster, after hearing what you said, I am indeed born to be my master's disciple. Although my cultivation is low now, my progress is fast. You see, I was previously at the 9th level of Spirit Extinguisher, but now I am already at the 1st level of Spirit Summoning. I can easily reach the 3rd or 4th level with a simple epiphany. Who can compare with such a cultivation speed? As for the 2 skills, I know how to craft talismans and refine pills. It's not that PM bragging, but as long as you give me some time, everyone in my blood torture talisman seal division and pill refining division will be able to advance." President Gu originally nodded when he heard Yun Shijia's first 2 sentences. After all, Yun Shijia's cultivation speed was truly astonishing. But when he heard the last 2 sentences, his nose nearly went crooked from anger. Blood torturing all the people from the talisman division and alchemy division? Why didn't you go to heaven? This Enchanting had merely listened to a few classes and already felt that she was stronger than the students from the alchemy division and talisman division. Where did? "President, if you don't believe me, I will carve a jade talisman for you right now and help you refine a batch of medicinal pills." President Gu interrupted her impatiently. All right, I don't have time to listen to your nonsense anymore. Since you have such confidence, I will give you a chance. During the 100-year grand competition, although the 2 seniors will not appear in public, they will still arrive at the venue of the grand competition. If you can obtain the qualifications to participate in the 100-year grand competition, I will let you meet the 2 of them at that time. If you are not even qualified to participate in the 100-year grand competition, don't mention this again in the future. President Gu did not intend to do so, but when he thought of Yunchujia's stubborn character, he decided to let her give up. There were only 50 people qualified to participate in the 100-year grand competition, and the upper house was full of talented people. Even if Enchanting risked her life, she would not be able to rank in the top 50. She could also use this opportunity to see her own capabilities, so that she would not think that she was extraordinary. Chapter 58-64 The Trial of the Six Harmonies Waterside Pavilion. President, how can I obtain the qualification to participate in the 100-year grand competition? Is it the trial of the Six Harmonies Waterside Pavilion that is about to begin? Yun Shujo asked curiously. President Gu did not conceal it. That's right. Only the top 50 of the trial of the Six Harmonies Waterside Pavilion can obtain the qualification to participate in the 100-year grand competition. If you want to meet those two seniors, you have to first obtain the top 50 first. Yun Shujo immediately said confidently, top 50? What's so difficult about that? Even the top 5 are effortless. President Gu was so angry that he was amused. This Enchanting simply did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. He would just have to wait and see. Before leaving, He Shinjo took out a small paper bag. President, I have some tea leaves here. The taste is not bad. You can keep them and drink. Before President Gu could say anything, He Shinjo jumped away. President Gu opened the paper bag carelessly, but he was stunned. The tea leaves in the paper bag were green and fragrant. It was the most high-end tea in the Divine Enlightenment continent Jasper Sprouts. This small paper bag was worth millions of spirit stones, and even if one had spirit stones, they might not be able to buy it. President Gus' mood was a little complicated. If Yun Shujo had given him something else, he wouldn't have been interested. However, he liked to drink tea, and this gift really hit the nail on the head. However, where did this Enchanting get the Jasper Sprouts? He Shinjo naturally got them from Vice President Xiao. Now that Vice President Xiao had been possessed by the 1,000-year-old corpse turtle emperor bug, his things were Zingius. This fellow had indeed plundered a lot of good things. Although this fellow was stingy, she would still spend the money she needed. Recently, she had offended President Gu many times, so it was time to give her some benefits. Yun Shujo met many students on her way back to the primeval subdivision. Although no one went up to provoke her, it was inevitable that they would point at her and mock her. He Shinjo sneered in her heart. Little rascals, just wait for your little ninth ancestor. I'll deal with you all after I take in my master. This fellow returned to the primeval institution and told Ding Wenru what had happened. Ding Wenru was instantly dumbfounded. Qingqing, what did you say? The top 50 of the Six Harmonies Waterside Pavilion? Not to mention the top 50, we might not even be able to enter the top 500? Everything depends on man. Don't worry, leave everything to me. Yun Shujo said confidently. Ding Wenru immediately shut her mouth and did not say anything. She just needed to hug Qingcheng's thigh. Soon, it was the day of the trial of the Six Directions Waterside Pavilion. All the students of the upper house had to participate in the trial of the Six Directions Waterside Pavilion. Many of them felt uneasy. The reason was very simple. The Six Directions Waterside Pavilion was extremely dangerous. The demon beasts in the dome were captured from the Six Directions Waterside Pavilion. The ferocious aura on their bodies was simply terrifying. Fortunately, each of them carried a jade token with them. As long as they crushed the jade token, they could be teleported out in advance. At least, they would not lose their lives. Before entering the Six Harmonies Waterside Pavilion, the students lined up according to their respective branches. Yun Shujo and Ding Wenru became particularly eye-catching. Jian Chenma's eyes revealed a murderous look. These two bastards had beaten him up quite badly last time, but they did not receive any punishment in the end. This time, they had better pray that they did not meet him in the Six Harmonies Waterside Pavilion. Otherwise, they would die without a burial place. Jian Zhuyu was smiling and speaking happily, but the corner of her eyes also fell on Yun Shujo. Her eyes flashed. The Six Harmonies waterside pavilion was different from other waterside pavilions, and there was no corresponding real-time transmission of the shadow stone. Enchanting, you are going to be unlucky. Chapter 5865 Enchanting. Xiao Lianxiao looked pleased with herself. Yesterday, she went to see Director Xiaofu, and Director Xiaofu clearly told her that he had tampered with Enchanting's teleportation jade token, so she could rest assured. When she thought about how she was finally going to get rid of Enchanting, this big trouble, Xiao Lianxiao could not hide the joy in her heart. As for that hypocritical Jian Zhuyu, she would find another opportunity to deal with her in the future. While everyone was thinking about it, President Gu explained the rules and precautions of the trial. There was a special herb growing on the Six Harmonies waterside pavilion called Enyang lichen. This lichen was very special. Half of it was black, and the other half was white. It lived under the surface of the ground all year round and was very difficult to find. The students' results were ranked by the number of Enyang lichens found, and the top 50 were qualified to participate in the 100-year grand competition. Then, President Gu announced the beginning of the trial. A white light flashed in front of the students' eyes, and they were all teleported into the Six Harmonies waterside pavilion. Since the teleportation location was random, everyone's landing point was different. When He Xinjiu regained her sight, she found that she was surrounded by tall trees, and it was dead silent. When she was looking around, she suddenly felt very hungry. This fellow could not help but curse, "You damned Dehua. All you do is eat and eat all day long. How many spirit stones have I fed you? How can you still be hungry? You good for nothing." Although this fellow cursed, it still released its red claws. After all, only by feeding it could she effectively alleviate this hunger. After the red claw swallowed the spiritual stones that Yun Chujiu threw to it, it suddenly flew forward. He Xinjiu was furious. This damn claw. Did it want to fly freely? You 1,000-year-old single claw, stop right there. He Xinjiu shouted in exasperation as she chased after it. The red claw turned a deaf ear and kept flying forward. Soon, He Xinjiu was left behind. The main reason was that the red claw could move freely in the forest. He Xinjiu had to avoid tree branches and other things. She also had to be careful not to be ambushed by other demonic beasts, so her speed was naturally much slower. Although the red claw flew fast, it still dissipated due to the exhaustion of spiritual energy. The Goei Batsao in He Xinjius Dantian shook its leaves. TSK, this idiot didn't have the ability to hide a small treasury and still wanted to learn from it? He really overestimated himself. He Xinjiu was really angry. This dead claw was even worse than Dehua's. Just as she was thinking about it, a feeling of hunger came from her stomach again. Yun Chujiu couldn't help but sneer. It seemed that this dead claw was intentional. It just wanted to come out. She wanted to see what it wanted to do. Hence, Yun Chujiu released the red claw again. Once the red claw was released, it flew forward again. Yun Chujiu was not in a hurry this time. She followed behind the red claw unhurriedly. Since her spiritual power was exhausted, the red claw also dissipated. After walking for a while, He Xinjiu found a tree covered in vines with small red wild fruits on it. This guy immediately stopped and began to pick wild fruits to eat. Needless to say, these wild fruits were sour and sweet and tasted pretty good. The red claw suddenly realized that Yun Chujiu did not catch up, so it could only fly back and hook its toes at Yun Chujiu. Yun Chujiu said while stuffing wild fruits into her mouth, "Go away. I don't have time to play with you." The red claw hooked its toes again, but when it saw that Yun Chujiu still did not respond, it rushed toward Yun Chujiu in anger. Chapter 5866. The red claw showed its power. Yun Chujiu had expected this. She dodged the attack of the red claw nimbly and sneered, "You damn claw. You still want to hit me? Be careful, or PLL, complained to the Prince Charming. "I'll kill you." The Red Claw shivered and immediately became as quiet as a chicken. Hei Shinjo could not help but feel jealous. These damn dumb cuties were all snobbish. She was their master, and she was so awesome. Why were they more afraid of the gigolo? Could it really be because of her temperament? Seeing that the Red Claw was not moving anymore, Shujo continued to pick wild fruits to eat. After a while, the Red Claw flew around Hei Shinjo in annoyance. At first, Hei Shinjo ignored it. Later, seeing that it was so annoyed that it wanted to hit a tree, she curled her lips. "Do you want to take me somewhere?" The Red Claw nodded excitedly. Shujo rolled her eyes, thinking that there was no harm in going to take a look. She wanted to see what the damned claw was up to. At that moment, she heard someone walking and talking in the distance. Shujo frowned and dispersed the Red Claw. Then, she jumped onto a big tree next to her and used the lush leaves to hide herself. "Fuck, I'm so unlucky. How did I get teleported into this dense forest? I heard that the Enyang lichen doesn't usually appear in the forest. Aren't we wasting our time here? Yeah, it's a good thing that we met. If I were alone, would be even more uncertain." The two men who spoke were dressed in Talisman Script Academy uniforms. Shujo really knew them. These two were Jian Chenma's lackeys. One of them took out a map and said, "Jian Chenmu told us to gather by the stream after we enter. Let's hurry over. This time, Yan Qingcheng and Ding Wenru will be in big trouble. There's no array to transmit images in this 6 directions waterside pavilion, so there's no need to have any scruples. Unless they're lucky and can't meet us. Otherwise, according to Jian Chenma's character, hell definitely kill them." The other person said. "That's their own fault. Wasn't that Yan Qingcheng very cocky before? Why hasn't she said anything recently? Why doesn't she think about it? There are only the two of them in the primal institution. What right does she have to fight with us?" "Yes. That's right, she's still boasting shamelessly that she wants her territory back. In your dreams. This time, go to hell and get it." Ha ha ha. Shujo heard the conversation between the two clearly, and the corner of her mouth revealed a cold smile. She secretly took out a large bag of chili noodles from her storage ring and threw it at the two people below. The two people were talking happily when they suddenly felt the sound of wind coming from above. They subconsciously dodged to the side, and the big bag of chili noodles immediately fell to the ground, instantly flying in all directions. Achoo! Achoo! What the hell is this thing? Ah, my eyes, ah, it hurts so much. While the two people were crying and howling, Shujo jumped down from the tree, released her red claws, and said with her spiritual sense, "If you want me to go with you, then take care of these two trash." Shuyu felt that De Hua had been so brave before. There was no reason for the red claws to be so useless. They must be faking it. Sure enough, after hearing Shuji's words, the red claws suddenly became several times bigger and lashed out viciously at one of the people. That person was immediately sent flying by the red claws and crashed into a towering tree in the distance. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. The other man sneezed and retreated in fear. However, he was not as fast as the red claw. He was immediately pinned to the ground by the red claw. Chapter 58-67 Subjugation. Hei Shinjo widened her eyes. My goodness. I didn't expect that the dead claw would be so powerful after it went crazy. This guy restrained the spiritual power of the two people and then took out a small dagger. He cut the neck of the person who was still conscious, and blood gushed out immediately. The person was so scared that his face turned pale. Yan Qingcheng, you. Don't mess around. If you kill me, you won't be able to recover either. Shujo chuckled. TSK, didn't you say just now? There's no array to transmit images in this 6 directions water pavilion. Even if I kill you, who would know? When the time comes, it'll destroy your corpse and wipe out all traces. Everyone will treat it as if you were eaten by a demonic beast. The man's face turned even paler as he pleaded, Enchanting, every injustice has its head and every debt has its owner. Back then, it was Jian Shenmu who instigated the tearing down of the wall and beating people up. It has nothing to do with me. He was extremely envious of his companion who had fainted. If he had known this would happen, he would have just crashed into a tree. I will naturally take care of Jian Shenmu, but I will not let go of a lackey like you. You have a share in throwing dog blood on the door of our primal institution, right? Throwing dirty things at the entrance of our primal institution did not go unnoticed by you, right? Tell me, if I don't kill you, do you think I will let you live for the new year? As Yun Shujiu spoke, she held a dagger and gestured back and forth on his face. The man trembled in fear. I was wrong, I was wrong. Please spare me this time. I will do whatever you want me to do. The corners of Yun Shujiu's lips curled up. You will do whatever I want you to do? Okay, swallow this pill. Before the man could resist, Yun Shujiu stuffed the pill into his mouth. The other man who had just woken up was also fed a pill. Immediately, a shrill scream was heard in the dense forest. The 2 people rolled on the ground in pain and begged for mercy. Yun Shujiu took out a spirit fruit and looked at the miserable state of the 2 people with a smile as she chewed on it. It was not until the 2 people were about to faint from the pain that Yun Shujiu said, "From now on, you will follow me. Do you have any objections?" The 2 of them did not dare to have any objections. They nodded their heads like garlic. As long as they were not in so much pain, they would do anything. Yun Shujiu then fed the 2 of them the antidote and said, I don't trust you yet, so you give me the jade token for your escape as collateral. The 2 of them had no other choice but to nod their heads in agreement. The 2 of them looked at Yun Shujiu anxiously, not knowing what she wanted them to do next. Go and find Jian Ch. The 2 of them looked at each other, and one of them asked carefully, then, when will you return the jade token to us? After all, this 6 Harmonies waterside pavilion is too dangerous. If we don't have the jade token, we won't know for sure. Yun Shujiu laughed lightly. It's very simple. When you work together to help me kill Jian Shenmu, I will return the jade token to you. The 2 of them felt their legs go weak and almost collapsed to the ground. This Enchanting was really too despicable. In this way, wouldn't they be on the same boat as her? But, what could they do? If they didn't have the escape jade token, they would be no different from waiting for death on this 6 Harmonies waterside pavilion. The 2 of them could only nod and agree bitterly. They walked in front while Yun Shujiu followed behind them at a distance. After taking a few steps, Yun Shujiu remembered about the red claw. She used her spiritual sense to comfort the red claw. I'll go and take care of Jian Shenmu first. Then, I'll follow you to where you want to go. She did not know whether the red claw suddenly understood or not, but after Yun Shujiu finished speaking, the red claw did not show any abnormalities and soon disappeared. Chapter 58-68. They did not want to die, yet Yun Shujiu played with the 2 jade tokens that she had just collected. Their names were carved on them, Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang. Although such a fence-sitter was not good, they had one advantage, which was that they were easy to control. She could command them with both kindness and power. Since she wanted to stay in the 10 Directions Academy for a long time, she had to train some lackeys. TSK, these 2 were really lucky to be the first batch of subordinates of her little 9th patriarch. If Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang knew what this fellow was thinking, they would probably be so angry that they would vomit blood. They didn't want such luck, okay? They were not too far from the edge of the forest at the moment. 4 hours later, Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang successfully walked out of the dense forest according to the map in their hands. They turned around and looked at He Xinjiu, who waved at them with a smile. They felt that the smiling Hei Shinjo was no different from a demon, so they gritted their teeth and continued walking forward. Soon, the two of them arrived at the stream where they were supposed to meet, and they saw Jian Shenmu pacing back and forth anxiously from afar. Jian Shenmu saw them and cursed, "You guys are finally here. Damn it, I wonder where the others have been teleported to?" Not a single person came. Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang smiled apologetically and said a few words. Jian Shenmu then said, "Let's wait another day. If no one comes, we won't wait anymore. I can't wait to kill Yan Qingcheng and Ding Wen'er right now. Especially Yan Qingcheng. If it wasn't for her, Ding Wen'er wouldn't have the guts to go against me. When I meet her, I'll definitely kill her. However, before I kill her, I have to play with her first. After all, she's the woman of the Northern Army. The thought of being able to play with the women of the Northern Army makes me extremely excited." Ha ha ha. Seeing Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang's stiff expressions, he added, "Don't worry. After I'm done playing with her, I'll reward you guys with some fun. Although that damned girl's figure is shriveled, her skin is tender and tender. It'll be a different kind of experience." Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang almost collapsed to the ground, laughing happily. Forget it. They didn't want to die yet. At this moment, Yun Shujiu slowly walked over from afar. Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang rejoiced in their hearts. Fortunately, they were far enough away. This demon shouldn't have heard Jian Chenma's previous words. Otherwise, he might have vented his anger on them. However, Jian Shenmu was extremely excited. This bitch Yan Qingqing actually took the initiative to deliver herself to their doorstep. She was really courting death. Be alert later. No matter what, we can't let her escape today, do you understand? Jian Shenmu instructed Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang in a low voice. The two of them nodded and thought in their hearts, "We can't let her escape. The one who can't escape is you." At this moment, Yun Shujiu had already walked in front of the three of them. Jian Shenmu grinned hideously and said, "Yan Qingqing, you sure are brave. You actually didn't run when you saw us? However, it's useless even if you run. A trash like you won't be able to escape from us at all." Yun Shujiu showed a terrified expression. "You. What do you want to do?" The corners of Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang's mouths twitched violently. They finally knew what a drama queen was. Not long ago, she was threatening them fiercely, but now she turned into a little white rabbit. She was really shameless. However, Jian Shenmu was extremely pleased with himself. He said with malicious intentions, "Yan Qingqing, if you want to live, you have to be more sensible. Although your figure is not that good and your looks are average, if you serve the three of us well, I might spare your little life." Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang stood behind Jian Shenmu and shook their heads and waved their hands at Hei Shinjo, expressing their innocence. They didn't want to be punished by the little devil again. For a time, Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang really could not kill him. If it were not for the Six Harmonies Waterside Pavilion prohibiting the use of talismans, the two of them would not have been Jian Chenma's match. Yun Shujiu had been watching the show from the side. Seeing this, she had no choice but to release her red claws. This guy used the same trick again. He coaxed the red claws to unleash their power again and pressed Jian Shenmu to the ground with one claw. Yun Shujiu directly released a fireball with small flames, burning Jian Shenmu into ashes. Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang were so frightened that their faces turned ashen. They had a trace of doubt before, thinking that Yan Qingqing was just scaring them, and that she might not really dare to kill them. But now, they no longer had a trace of luck. This Yan Qingqing was simply a demon who killed without batting an eye. She had actually burned Jian Shenmu to death. Yun Shujiu picked up Jian Chenma's storage ring from the ashes and put it into her own storage ring naturally. Chapter 5870. Ding Wenru went to the Red Valley. Yun Shujo was about to say something when she saw the red claws fly forward. She rolled her eyes and said to Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang, "You two go find Ding Wenru and be responsible for protecting her. Also, if you find the Yin Yang lichen, it will all belong to her. Do you have any objections?" Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang didn't dare to say they had any objections and hurriedly nodded. Only then did Yun Shujo return their jade tokens to them and send them away. Since they had already killed Jian Shenmu, there was no way out. They weren't afraid that they would betray them. After Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang left, Yun Shujo chased after them in the direction where the red claws had left. They had been walking for several hours. Hei Xinjiu wondered as she walked. Didn't they say that there were many ferocious demonic beasts in the Six Directions Water Pavilion? Why didn't she meet any of them along the way? Was it because she was too lucky, or were all the demonic beasts dead? Seeing that the red claws had no intention of stopping, the creature said impatiently, "Hey, De Hua, where are you taking me? I still need to find the Yin Yang lichen." The red claws could not speak, so it naturally could not answer her. It only conveyed an anxious emotion. Yun Shujo had no choice but to continue following it. In the end, this thing was very protective. Although she despised and cursed the red claw, she felt that there must be a reason for the red claw to do so, so she patiently followed it. As they walked, the sky turned dark. Yun Shujo was afraid of encountering any danger, so she found a place to rest. The red claw turned a few times anxiously, but it did not do anything again. The next morning, Hei Xinjiu continued to follow the red claw. After walking for a short while, she met Jian Zhuyu and his group. Jian Zhuyu was followed by more than a dozen people, and it was obvious that she was the leader. Jian Zhuyu saw Yun Shujo, and his eyes flashed. He smiled and said, "Yan Qingsheng, this Six Harmonies waterside pavilion is very dangerous. Why don't you come with us? We can take care of each other." Yun Shujo curled her lips. "Thank you for your kindness, but I still feel more at ease by myself." The people behind Jian Zhuyu immediately mocked her. "Yan Qingsheng, don't be so shameless. Since Zhuyu is willing to bring you along, you should be burning incense. How dare you reject her? TCH. I think she's sick. If she doesn't want to follow us, then forget it. It's better if she's eaten by a demonic beast. Aya, I think she wants to look for Beiyu. TSK, don't you think that the size of the Six Harmonies waterside pavilion is astonishing? Where can she find Beiyu?" Jian Zhuyu did not show any signs of dissatisfaction. "She Kanton. Oh right, I forgot to tell you. I saw Ding Wenru heading towards the Red Valley in the south. You can go look for her." Yun Shujo took a deep look at Jian Zhuyu. Jian Zhuyu felt a little uncomfortable looking at her before she retracted her gaze. "Then thank you for telling me. Goodbye." Jian Zhuyu looked at Yun Shujia's back and revealed a cold smile. This Yan Qingsheng had the best relationship with Ding Wenru. She would definitely go to the Red Valley to look for her without thinking. At that time, she would definitely die. There were many high-level demon beasts gathered in the Red Valley, and they were all very fierce. The demon beasts in the Beast Master Scope's dome were captured from the Red Valley. The reason why she was not afraid of Yun Shujo crushing the jade plate to escape was because she met Xiao Lianxiao on the way. From her words, she could tell that there was something wrong with Yun Shujia's escaped jade plate. Chapter 5871. Red Valley. Yun Shujo was not a fool. She naturally knew that Jian Zhuyu was up to no good. Ding Wenru was not a fool. She clearly knew that the Red Valley was very dangerous, so how could she possibly go there? Therefore, Yun Shujo planned to ignore it. Who would have thought that as she walked, she would discover that the direction the red claws told her to go was the Red Valley. Yun Shujo immediately stopped walking. "De Hua, you're not going to send me to my death in the Red Valley, are you? I still need to find the Yin Yang lichen to qualify for the grand competition. I don't have the time to play with you and those demonic beasts. The red claw naturally wouldn't give up. It flew around her anxiously. If Yun Shujo hadn't threatened it before, it would probably have slapped her away with one claw. Just as she was in a stalemate with the red claw, Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang caught up, panting. Yun Shujo said in confusion, "Didn't I tell you to look for Ding Wenru? Why are you back?" Yin Zhang panted and said, "Student Yan, we were going to look for Ding Wenru, but we heard that she was heading towards the direction of the Red Valley, so we chased after her." Yun Shujo was stunned. "Who did you hear it from? It couldn't be Jian Zhuyu and the others, right?" Yin Zhang shook his head. "We didn't hear it from them. We met a few people from the refining department and heard it from them." Yun Shujo frowned. The people from the refining department said that? The people from the refining department didn't have to lie to Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang. Besides, others didn't know that they were their own people. Ding Wenru had always tried to avoid danger. Why did she lose her mind and go to the Red Valley this time? Could it be that there was another reason? She gritted her teeth. Anyway, this damned claw also wanted her to go to the Red Valley, so she would go and take a look. "Let's go. You guys follow me to the Red Valley to take a look," Yun Shujo said to Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang. Although the two of them didn't want to go, they thought about it. At worst, they could just crush the jade token and go out. It wasn't a big deal. Thus, the three of them headed towards the Red Valley together. Since Yun Shujo already knew the destination, the Red Claw didn't make any more trouble and came out to lead the way. "Student Yen, I have to say that your luck is really good. Ever since we left you, we have encountered quite a few groups of demonic beasts. Why can't we encounter any of them after following you?" Jiang Hong said in a somewhat fawning manner. Hearing this, Yun Shujo became more and more suspicious. Yes, why didn't she encounter any demon beasts? It was really strange. At sunset, the three of them arrived at the entrance of the reason why the Red Valley was named was because the soil and rocks here were bright red, as if they were stained with blood. Yun Shujo didn't know why, but a trace of grief and indignation appeared in her heart. She frowned. This emotion didn't belong to her. Could it be a red claw? What did it want her to do here? And why did Ding Wenru come here? Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang's faces were full of anxiety. They held the escape jade token tightly in their hands. As long as something was wrong, the two of them would crush the jade token to escape. "Student Yen, it's getting late now. It's too dangerous if we enter rashly. Why don't we wait until tomorrow morning to go in? Yeah, maybe Ding Wenru has already crushed her jade token and left. We don't have to take the risk." At this moment, a cry for help came from the valley. Yun Shujo immediately jumped into the valley because the cry was Ding Wenru's voice. Chapter 5872. Could it be that they were afraid of the red claws? Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang looked at each other when they saw Yun Shujo leap into the valley. Were they going to follow her or not? If they didn't follow her, the little devil would definitely teach them a lesson. However, what if they were in danger if they followed her? Jiang Hong gritted his teeth. If the situation isn't right, well, crush the jade token. She can't blame us. Yin Zhang felt that what he said made sense and immediately nodded in agreement. The two of them also rushed into the valley. The two of them tried their best to catch up, but the distance between them and Yun Shujo kept increasing. When the two of them saw Yun Shuji's ghostly figure in front of them, they couldn't help but feel puzzled. Yan Qingchang's cultivation was lower than theirs, so why was her movement so fast? At this moment, Yun Shujo stopped in front of them, and the two of them finally caught up. The two of them followed Yun Shuji's gaze and saw two people sitting on the ground. They knew each other. One of them was the Devi PS follower, Ding Wenru, and the other was Nangong Shi from the weapon refining branch. Both of their bodies were covered in blood. It was obvious that their injuries were not light. Ding Wenru looked at Yun Shujo and said with great effort, "Qingqing, you're here?" Nan Gongshi didn't have the strength to speak anymore. He was gasping for breath. There were bloodstains on the ground and the corpses of 2 demon beasts. Jiang Hong cried out in surprise, "These are red-eyed raging bears of the 5th level of the Moon Seal. You actually killed 2 of them? How did you do it?" The 5th level of the Moon Seal was equivalent to the 5th level of the Divine Summoning Realm for human cultivators. Although Nan Gongshi was at the 5th level of the Divine Summoning Realm, Ding Wenru was only at the 8th level of the Divine Summoning Realm. It was quite difficult for the 2 of them to kill 2 red-eyed raging bears of the 5th level of the Moon Seal. Moreover, they had vaguely seen the shadows of a few demon beasts that had fled in a hurry. This meant that these 2 demon beasts were not the only ones that had surrounded them previously. Why did those demon beasts escape? Logically speaking, those demon beasts should be more excited. After all, the cultivation levels of the 3 of them were not as high as Nangong Shigeo's. Yun Shujo had also thought of this. Why did those demon beasts flee like the wind? She suddenly remembered the abnormal reaction of those demonic beasts in the dome. At that time, she thought that she wanted to eat meat and scared those demonic beasts. However, it didn't seem like that was the case now. However, it was better to leave the Red Valley first. Who knew? Therefore, she asked Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang to help her help Nangong Shi and Ding Wenru to leave the valley. However, she didn't expect the Red Claw to express its protest. Yun Shujo frowned and asked with her spiritual sense, "You want me to stay here? Aren't you afraid that I will be eaten by the demon beasts?" Although Yun Shujo didn't understand what the Red Claw wanted to say, it clearly wanted her to stay in the valley and continue to move forward. Yun Shujo suddenly had a guess. Could it be that the demon beasts were afraid of the Red Claw? That's right. Ever since she entered the 6 Harmonies Waterside Pavilion, she hadn't encountered a single demon beast. It must be because they were afraid of the Red Claw and ran away without a trace. Then the question came. Why were the demon beasts afraid of the Red Claw? She thought again. It seemed that only the demon beasts in the 6 Harmonies Waterside Pavilion were afraid of the Red Claw. Could it be that De Hua had some relationship with the 6 Harmonies Waterside Pavilion? Thinking of this, she asked the Red Claws with her spiritual sense, "Are all the beasts here afraid of you?" The Red Claw's smug mood was immediately transmitted through her spiritual sense. Yun Shujo pursed her lips in her heart. Then, she said to Ding Wenru and the others, "You guys go out of the valley first. I'll stay here for a while." Chapter 58-73. Tao Tai. Ding Wenru had already recovered some of her strength after taking the pill. She said, "Qingqing, you can't stay here. This Red Valley is quite strange. The escape jade token won't work here. It'll be bad if those demon beasts come back again." Nangong Shi echoed, "Yes, the demon beasts here are very fierce. It's night now. You can't stay here. It's too risky." Hearing that, Yun Shujo glanced at them. "Oh right, I haven't had the chance to ask you guys why you're here. Don't you know that this Red Valley is very dangerous?" Ding Wenru's expression was a little unnatural. Nangong Shi coughed dryly and said, "It's nothing. It's just that this Red Valley produces a kind of crimson bead bloodstone, which is a good material for refining artifacts. That's why we came to look for the crimson bead bloodstone." Initially, everything was going very smoothly. Who would have thought that we would suddenly encounter several demonic beasts? We originally wanted to crush the escape jade token and get out. Who would have thought that it would be useless? That's why we let out a cry for help. Yun Shujo glanced at the 2 of them. She knew that the matter would definitely not be so simple, but she did not ask any further. It was not too late to ask after the trial ended. "I see. I have something to do. You guys go out and wait. I will be fine," Yun Shujo said without any objections. Ding Wenru and Nangong Shi saw that she was insistent, so they could only give her a few instructions. They were supported by Jiang Hong and Yin Zhang as they walked out of the valley. Yun Shujo walked towards the depths of the Red Valley. She had only walked for a short while when she heard a familiar voice behind her. Wait a moment. Yun Shujo turned her head and saw Di Baiming coming from afar. The moonlight shone on his body and he was shrouded in a holy halo. The first thought that popped up in He Xinjia's mind was, why did the pretty boy always bring a halo with him every time he appeared? Why did she always appear in such a sorry state? Why are you here? He Xinjiu asked sourly. A certain someone really didn't know what was wrong with his wife's sour tone. He said truthfully, I overheard the conversation of the people from the Talisman Seal Division. I figured that you would come to the Red Valley, so I rushed here. Yun Shujo curled her lips. It's Jian Ziyu's lackeys, right? They can't wait for me to die here. Humph. Those coquettish bitches would never know that my little ninth patriarch has Dehua in his hands. He can pass through the Six Harmonies waterside pavilion unimpeded. Di Baiming did not show too much surprise. He asked, the reason why you rushed to the depths of the valley was also because of that idiot Dehua? Did you know about this long ago? Di Baiming tidied her hair, which had been messed up by the wind, and then said, since I know about the two Grand Elders, I naturally know some other secrets of the 10 Directions Academy. The 6 Directions Waterside Pavilion was the core of the array that imprisoned the Tao Tai. The demonic beasts on the 6 Directions Waterside Pavilion were stained with the fierce aura of the Tao Tai. Therefore, they were especially fierce. And because they were stained with the fierce aura of the Tao Tai, they were afraid of Dehua. After all, Dehua's real body is the Tao Tai. He Xinjiu suddenly understood when she heard Di Baiming's words. So that was the reason. No wonder she summoned the Red Claw when she arrived at the Academy of 10 Directions. It turned out that Dehua's real body was imprisoned here. He Xinjiu glared at Di Baiming and said snappily, why did you tell me this when you already knew about it? Chapter 5874, Watching People Cook. I'm afraid that you won't be able to keep your cool and act rashly after you know about it, which will bring unnecessary trouble, Di Baiming said indifferently. He Xinjiu said unwillingly, you say it as if I'm a troublemaker. Even if I know about it, I might not really do anything. Di Baiming glanced at Yun Shujo with a faint smile, and his meaning could not be more obvious. He Xinjiu coughed guiltily, why are you looking at me like that? Although I do mess around sometimes, I know what I'm doing. I won't mess around. Humph, you deliberately didn't tell me. You want to see me as a joke. Di Baiming smiled bitterly and sighed, firstly, I'm afraid that you won't be able to control your temper. Secondly, although Dehua is your spiritual beast, it is obviously not under your control. Although the 4 ferocious beasts have their own strengths, Tao Tai is the most brutal one. Moreover, it doesn't have a bottom line like the other 3 demon beasts. When it goes crazy, it will swallow everything. Now, it has only materialized a claw. You can't subdue it. If you release its true form rashly, are you sure that you can subdue it? Although He Xinjiu was not convinced, she still had some agreement in her heart. Whether it was Dehua from before or the Red Claw now, they were both extremely unruly and difficult to tame. The reason why they were able to listen to her orders was because they each had their own needs. If she really released its true form, she really did not have any confidence in subduing it. At least what you said makes sense. Should we continue to move forward or turn back now? That dead claw has been tormenting me ever since we entered the 6 Harmonies Waterside Pavilion. If I don't do as it says, it will make me very hungry. It's really annoying. Yun Shujo pouted and said. Di Baiming's face immediately darkened. Release it and warn it to prevent it from tormenting you again. As soon as Di Baiming finished speaking, Yun Shujo felt the strong desire for survival from the Red Claw. Although she couldn't speak, the begging that was transmitted to Yun Shujo was simply too obvious. Yun Shujo was angry and amused at the same time. Damn it, she didn't see it being so obedient when she was scaring it previously. Now, the gigolo only said one sentence and it was frightened to this extent. It was really like watching a person leave a dish. Prince Charming, it's not too late to deal with it after we get out. Let's go see where it wants to go first. Even if we don't release its main body, we can still do it in our hearts. Di Biming couldn't help but sigh. You're really too indulgent with spiritual pets. Do you see how the little perv? Yun Shujo touched her nose and couldn't help but think of the little perverted dragon-s expression when it was told that it was going to be taken away by Di Biming last time. It looked as pitiful as it could be. It was enough to show what kind of life it usually lived. It was said that Di Biming often threw it into the pile of demonic beasts. If it had the ability, it would live. If it did not have the ability, it would die. However, it was because of Di Biming's cold-blooded that the little dragon's cultivation was much higher than Xiao Hanio and the rest. It was just that Hei Shinjo did not have such a ruthless heart. In this regard, she admitted that she was a little soft-hearted. No matter in her past life or present life, her greatest strength was that she was protective of her shortcomings. She could not stand to see the people or beasts she was protecting suffer or be bullied. Seeing that she did not speak, Di Biming did not continue the topic. He said casually, since you want to go and take a look, I'll go with you. Let's go. Chapter 5875 was incomprehensible. Hei Shinjo immediately grabbed Di Biming's arm with a smile. Alright, then let's go and take a look. The two of them did not encounter a single demonic beast along the way. It could be said that they were unimpeded. I didn't expect a Hua to be so useful in the Six Harmonies Waterside Pavilion. We definitely don't have to worry about our mission anymore. When the time comes, I'll get Xiao Hei to search for the Yin-Yang lichen. I reckon that those guarding demonic beasts won't dare to make an enemy out of us. Humph. This time, not only do I want to be in the top 50, I also want to be in first place. I'll blind the snobbish eyes of Xiao Guzi. When the 100-year competition comes, I'll gladly take in 2 masters. In the future, I'll be able to do whatever I want in the 10 Directions Academy. When the time comes, I'll take back the treasures taken by the other branches and make them obediently pay the rent. Then, I'll be rich. Humph. Let's see who dares to provoke me. I will kill him. Hei Shinjo said smugly. Di Biming saw that she was so smug that she was almost standing shoulder to shoulder with the moon, so he poured cold water on her. Don't think so optimistically. It is said that the 2 grand elders are grumpy and have not taken in any disciples for so many years. It may not be so easy for you to become their disciple. Hei Shinjo snorted, who cares if they are grumpy or not? I am now the only 2 students of the prehistoric academy. They have to accept me or I will kill them. Di Biming thought of his wife's evil ways and could not help but light a candle for the 2 grand elders. Although the 2 chatted as they walked, they were not slow. In the blink of an eye, they had reached a cliff that reached into the clouds. There was no way forward. This should be the end of the Red Valley. On the other side of the cliff is Misty Lake, Di Biming said. Yun Shujo looked around and did not see anything unusual, so she released her red claw. After the red claw was released, it pointed at a certain lord like a Maneki Niko. It was very obedient. Hei Shinjo was suddenly angry and said unhappily, Alright, let's get down to business. What do you want us to do here? The red claw was about to fly into a rage, but when it saw a certain one beside Yun Shujo, it obediently floated to the side of the cliff and stuck its entire claw to one part of the cliff. Yun Shujo narrowed her eyes and looked. She did not know what the red claw was up to. At this moment, Yun Shujo was surprised to see a fiery red monster appear on the cliff. Although it was just an image, it could be judged that the monster's body was extremely huge. The Six Directions Pavilion was probably not even half as big as it. Its 4 limbs were chained, and the chain looked like it was made of 10,000-year-old black iron. Although the red monster's body was huge, its proportions were extremely strange. Its head took up more than half of its entire body. Its head was like a cow, but also like a sheep. Its sharp teeth were like a tiger, and there was a pair of wings on its body. The claws were exactly the same as the red claws. It seemed that this was Tao Tai. You are Tao Tai. Although Yun Shujiu did not know if the image could transmit sound, she still asked the question in her heart. Yes, it is me. You are really lucky to have my soul protection. Quickly let me out, I will not mistreat you. Tao Tai's huge mouth opened and closed, and said with a bossy tone. Yun Shujiu curled her lips. Speaking in human language, I don't understand what you're saying. Tao Tai. Chapter 5876, Don't save me, let me out quickly, I won't mistreat you. Do you understand now? Tao Tai said impatiently. Yun Shujiu hugged her shoulders and shook the tip of her toes. She curled her lips again. Why? Tao Tai became even more impatient. Do you even need to ask? I'm so smart and divine. With my help, you can do whatever you want. Isn't that enough? TSK, you're really shameless. Since you're so capable, why are you locked up? Since you're so capable, come out yourself. Tao Tai almost fainted from anger. This wretched girl was as hateful as her previous life. If it wasn't for a coincidence, it would have eaten her. Although Tao Tai was ruthless, after being locked up for so many years, it finally learned its lesson. It let out a sigh of relief. I was joking just now. Look, we are already so familiar with each other. You even gave me the name De Hua. This is a good name. Please let me out. Tao Tai even felt that these words were a little fake. De Hua. Oh God. Oh God. He was a majestic, ferocious beast, but he was given such a name. Where was the justice in this? However, when it thought of Butt Face, it immediately felt a lot better. At least its name was more refreshing, unlike Butt Face, who was so old-fashioned. Yun Shujiu blinked her eyes. It's useless to be familiar with it. If I save you, it'll definitely cause a lot of trouble. I can't protect myself now, and am not in the mood to save you. Tao Tai was not a patient person. Hearing Yun Shujiu's words, its face immediately turned ferocious. You'll be saved today, and you'll be saved even if you don't. Otherwise, I'll slap you to death with my claws. A certain deity, who had been silent all this while, said plainly, Who are you going to slap to death? Tao Tai's entire attention was on He Xinjiu. It was not until then that he saw Di Biming beside him and immediately changed his words. I will slap myself to death with my claws. He Xinjiu. Tao Tai's huge eyeballs rolled around, and he actually managed to squeeze out a few tears. Please, save me. After all, you have the 3 Cheong Chi with you. You don't need me anymore, do you? As long as you save me, I will agree to any conditions. Yun Shujiu sneered in her heart. She finally realized that among the 4 great beasts, Hun Dun was the dumbest. Tao Wu was not a scheming person. Although Butt Face was a little scheming, he was not a scheming person. However, this Tao Tai was different. Not only was it ferocious, but it was also very scheming. No wonder the pretty boy did not want her to save it. Seeing that Yun Shujiu did not speak, Tao Tai begged again. Although I followed you in a split soul state, I have helped you a lot. Even if you don't have any merits, you still have to work hard. And you are so protective of your shortcomings. You defin. Yun Shujiu curled the corners of her lips. I can bear to. Tao Tai did not give up and continued to persuade. I am one of the 4 great fierce beasts. My ability is much stronger than Butt Face and the others. Don't you want to kill everyone with my help? Yun Shujiu, no. Tao Tai was so angry that it was dumbfounded. In the past, this stupid girl always tried to trick other idiots. But this time, it took the initiative to let her do it. Why didn't she do it? It was really detestable. Yun Shujo yawned. Alright, it's already the middle of the night. I am also sleepy. Go do what you should do. I have to find a place to sleep. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.